Welcome to the program. For the next 4 hours, we hope to entertain and inform you. A lot of basketball talk, including last night's first four. First game was outstanding. The second game, well, if you're a North Carolina ACC fan, you were very happy to see that go down.
Yeah, I had no idea that you spelled Aztecs with 3 S's, but apparently you do.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. That was bad. But let's start with the good first. That the state of Alabama once again just continues to show the nation that we're not just a football state. Like, we play round ball down here. Alabama State takes out St. Francis last night. If you're watching the game on True TV last night, it was something to behold because the first half was not a very good one for Alabama State. St. Francis came out, shot the ball very well, but then all of a sudden, Alabama State did not waver. They kept at it, and this is the way it sounded on True TV with seconds left to go.
Seconds left, and here we go. This is where dreams are made. We're going for it all. Simpson, home run play, the deflection. Oh! The layup! 0.7 seconds left. Alabama State in front.
There is the way it sounded.
Is that not the most fitting way to begin an NCAA tournament?
It was amazing. Amar Knox caught a full court pass. It tipped off a couple dudes. He was at the right place at the right time, and with 1 second left, he put it in. And for the first time in the history of Alabama State basketball, they have advanced in the NCAA tournament.
I liked ASU. They just it was like you said. You know, there were a couple of times, especially there in the first half, where they would cut it to 2, they'd cut it to 3, and then St. Francis, to their credit, they would answer. But ASU just kept firing up threes. Just trust your shot, keep firing up threes. They hit some big ones that were clutch down the stretch, but that is awesome for that program to get their first tournament win in their school's history, but a great start for the state of Alabama.
No, it certainly was. Alabama State used a 6-0 run into the under 4 timeout to put themselves in a position. Their first lead happened under the 4 timeout. First time they had the lead since the very beginning of the game. So St. Francis really controlled the game. So what do you get by winning? You get the number 1 overall seed. And it's interesting because a campus that's 54 miles away from Auburn University.
It's a school down the road, Pat.
Yes. All of a sudden now you've got to go to Lexington, Kentucky to play the Auburn Tigers. But listen to Coach Madlock, who was an assistant under Tony Barbary, right? Is that right?
Yes.
At Auburn. This is what he had to say after the game about they worked on this. This particular play to end the game, this is something that was not new to them.
It's the game that we always spend probably about 10 to 12 minutes on situational stuff. And we had a couple guys throwing the pass, and it just wasn't very consistent. And then once we got Michael Sims, we call him Deuce, he started throwing it, and it's been going pretty good. So that's what happened. So he became the guy that throws that pass on that play.
How about that? Something that they practiced, something that they use. I guess it's just like a 2-minute drill in football that they do at the end of practice.
It wasn't Grant Hill to Christian Leitner.
No,
it wasn't clean,
pretty.
but you know what? Credit to him staying with it, navigating a body that he eventually fell over after he made the shot.
You felt bad because you had the coach's son who missed the free throws.
Yes.
That could have pretty much given them the game before all the drama took place. So you felt really bad because you had the coach's wife, the player's mom in the stands. You know, they had honed in on her big time. The producers, I can just hear them in their camera. Get a shot, tight shot on
Get
her.
ready for that, parents.
Yeah, get ready.
If this is your first NCAA tournament watching your son.
Yep. And then with them being able to do what they did at the very end, it was also a big day for the SWAC. Because per the NCAA, the value of a men's basketball unit this year, a unit is you being in the tournament and you progressing in the tournament. The conference gets paid units based on a 6-year average. Well, per unit is worth $348,000.
Woo.
So you take that over a 6-year period, that's about $2.1 million that the SWAC will see in its coffers. So that was big for them.
It's huge.
That was big for them. getting the win last night. Now, Conrad, I was listening this morning on Morning Jocks, as I do, listening to the Damian Mitchell show with special guest Conrad Van Order.
Conrad and friends, Pat.
And Conrad was not, let's just say he was slinging a little bit towards Alabama State. He was not impressed with the Hornets' victory last night against St. Francis.
Conrad?
I didn't say that. I gave them props for their win. It's a monumental moment.
Where's Pat pulling this from?
Tell him the truth. Tell him what you said.
I'm getting to it. I congratulated them on how great the win was. It's a monumental moment for the program. But if you watched that game last night,
Go ahead. Tell him.
I don't know how your takeaway isn't that Auburn's going to win by at least 30 on tomorrow.
I'll tell you my takeaway. I went through and did a deep dive on Alabama State's schedule and results. They have not lost a game by 30 all year. The worst loss that they had, I think, was to SMU by 29.
I think
that's a different beast than Auburn.
Part of the terminology that you just left out, telling Molly and Landrum what you said this morning, was that was bad basketball.
It was bad basketball. It was a sloppy game. It was an exciting game. Oh, don't look at me like you don't agree.
So in the SEC, when you get Tennessee and whoever they're playing,
that's physical. That's physical basketball.
And you get 51-49. Some people would say that's bad basketball.
Physical basketball.
Wasn't that bad.
It was physical. It wasn't that bad, but see, Pat's throwing me under the bus now.
That was the same. Hey,
those were your words.
They weren't my words.
They weren't my words.
That was 6 a.m., Conrad. This is 10 a.m., Conrad.
You've had time to collect yourself.
Yes, I've had time.
Okay, I forgive you.
That was the non-employee of the month. At
That's
6
right.
o'clock.
That was evil, Conrad.
Yeah.
Correct. I was very happy for the Hornets. Buzz, buzz. Big win.
Bzz.
Bzz.
Well, if you're wondering, Auburn is undefeated 6-0 all-time against Alabama State. As I mentioned, Tony Madlock, he's a former assistant coach under Tony Barbee from 2010 from 2010 to 2014. So he was there for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Tony Barbee.
Yeah. Yeah, Barbie wasn't there very, very long. I'm surprised you didn't use his name in the bracket challenge. Instead,
hey, the day is young, Pat.
Instead, Landrum uses Tommy Joe Eagles.
I did.
I think my wife has the best bracket name now.
Yes.
I met Tommy Joe Eagles when I was a kid. He unfortunately did not have the NIL that they currently have in the roster, but he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Super nice.
Came from Louisiana Tech, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Yeah, Paige's, I know this is going to shock you, but her name in the bracket pool for us is Buckyball.
Is it really?
I saw that
That's
this
awesome.
morning.
Well, she said, well, what's a name that I could use so that people will know it's me without just naming it Paige? So we've, workshopped a couple ideas, and that was,
I was trying to
that
get
was the winner.
I was trying to get creative. So have Tommy Joe Eagles, have Grant Nelson's beard, and then the third entry is Dan Hurley's hemorrhoid.
Ooh, that's a good
Ooh.
one. Yeah, it was difficult trying to explain to Paige. So why is your bracket name Athens Police Department? That's a bit of a deep cut. We're gonna have to go through a lot of things here. We got about 30 arrests to go through.
This will mark the second time for Auburn to play an in-state opponent in an NCAA tournament game. Can you name the last one?
Jacksonville State.
That's right. Only other time, happened just a couple years ago.
Struggled in that game. That was not a clean game. And was it they played Miami the next game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that did not go well.
80-61 was the final when they beat Jacksonville State. That was the first round of the 2022 Midwest Regional in Greenville, and Miami took out Auburn in the next game.
En route to the Final Four.
Yep.
They eventually lost to Kansas.
Sure was. So as exciting as the first game was, if you're a Tar Heel fan, if you're an ACC fan, I saw Jim Phillips sitting next to Bubba Cunningham last night. How many shots did we see on the old video screen on those two?
You think he said, "Hey, Bubba, drinks are on you tonight"?
Vindication, my friend. North Carolina shot 61% in the first half. 61%. They led by 24 at intermission. And RJ Davis, man, 6 of 6 on three-pointers.
He hit on our prize picks.
Yeah, he did.
26 points on the night.
He did.
But not that I took San Diego State in the points.
I teased it, and I pushed them plus the points, like plus 9. Yuck.
I had them at +6 without teasing them. And
It's bad when you got, Pat, 5 minutes to go in the first half and you realize at +9.
It's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
Well, they were trying to at halftime, and I understand this is their job. I think it was Jay Wright trying to say, "Oh, this is still a ball game. I know the first half got out of hand, but this is San Diego State's gonna make this a ball game." I was like,
No, they're not.
Producers in his ear, keep the viewer.
Yeah.
Say something encouraging.
Like, no, based on what I just saw,
No.
it was ugly.
Since 2001, Mountain West teams in the tournament, straight up, 11-45.
And San Diego State got what, half of those wins a couple
Going
years
to the
ago?
Final Four.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
They need Baker Mazzara back.
11-45.
Goodness.
Straight up. That's not against the spread. That's straight up. 45 losses.
So if
Oh,
you're
that was
thinking
the
of,
ACC's non-conference record this year.
so if you're thinking about a Colorado State upset as a potential 12 seed, remember that stat.
Yeah, just remember that.
They're
Also,
going to be number 12. I believe it.
as good as North Carolina looked last night, it was still not a quad one win.
No, that's why they played so great, because it was a quad 2 game.
That's right.
And they were great in those this year.
They just, because San Diego State was a 52 in the net, and if you're playing on a neutral court, it has to be a top 50.
Yeah.
So they were 52. So now North Carolina is 9-0 in quad 2 games. This
I'm
year.
not
Great.
saying this
Woo.
for your benefit, Pat, but I don't think this bodes well for Ole Miss.
Whatever. It's one game.
That look on Pat's face.
It
One game.
It is one
against
game.
A terrible conference opponent.
it is one game, but you can't
Do
overlook.
you think RJ Davis is going to go 6 for 6 on 3-pointers? Do you think they're going to shoot 61% in the first half against Chris Beard's defense?
Pat,
No,
they are now
Beard will
10
have
and
somebody
12.
tackle him. He'll trade an ejection for RJ Davis not getting clean looks.
North Carolina's now 10-12 in quad 1 and quad 2 games, Pat. That's a respectable. They're almost at 500.
They're favored versus Ole Miss.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh, they've had the biggest this morning, the biggest move.
I knew that was going
across
to be an
the Vegas
overreaction.
board.
A lot of people were going to go and have a UNC win, and they very well may win.
One of my brackets will have UNC advancing.
Hey, we saw them make it to the championship a couple
To
years
the next
ago
game.
as a 8 seed, 9 seed. It's possible.
But looking at it in Ole Miss, potentially who they were going to play, it gives you more pause than it did prior to last night and watching that North Carolina team. If they shoot like that, they're going to make a deep run.
And by the way, here's a little fun stat for you. Ole Miss is undefeated in Milwaukee.
Have they ever played there?
No.
That was the right question to ask.
I wish you hadn't asked that question.
Well,
It's a great stat.
partner, I know you well enough by now.
All right. So tonight, 5:40, 8:10, same routine as we had last night. Mount St. Mary's will be taking on American. That's 2 16 seeds. And then at 8:10, you've got Xavier and Texas. I've seen a lot of, and Brian Edwards is going to join us at 10:45, and I have not looked over my notes from him whether he's got a play in this game, but I've seen a lot of Vegas people loving Xavier tonight. And I told Conrad before the show, I've seen Xavier play a few times this year. They do not have a Trey Johnson. And if Trey Johnson is Trey Johnson tonight, I think Texas advances.
Horns up, baby.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
SEC goes 1-0.
First SEC team on the board.
Don't disappoint us. You just got in the conference. We're going to kick you out if you don't.
Rodney Terry playing for his job, coaching for his
Very
job.
well could be.
Maybe.
Heavy rumors going around, speaking of coaching, that there could be an announcement at North Carolina State coming in the next day or so. We'll see how McNeese does in the tournament, how long that they will postpone that announcement. You can read between the lines on that one. And meanwhile, Indiana. It's been a bad week for West Virginia.
Man.
That was pretty bad.
Governor's up there politicking. Meanwhile, coaches meeting with another school.
So DeVries is on his way from West Virginia to Indiana. He spent 1 year at West Virginia. He went 19-13. He led Drake to multiple NCAA tournaments. Think about this. So Bob Huggins was West Virginia's coach in 2023. Now 21 months later, West Virginia is conducting their third coaching search in basketball.
That was a bad situation. Just for fun, do you have Indiana's record in front of you for this past year?
I do not.
Well, they were 19-13, which is the same record as West Virginia. It's just kind of, again, not saying it's not a good hire, but just when you think of making upgrades at these coaching hires and you go and get somebody that was
Steeper hill to climb, Conrad.
in the same position. Yeah.
And listen, this was a money-making
It's just interesting.
That's what I say if
investment
I'm his
opportunity
agent.
yesterday. If you looked at the odds for the Indiana head coaching job, DeVries had the 12th best odds.
Underdog.
Yesterday morning, it was plus 2,500.
Do you remember who was at the top?
No, I do not.
That's
But
wild.
the
though, that they made
feeling,
it that far down, yeah.
because DeVries is from Iowa. And
Because
so
yeah, that was the rumor.
and the
was
feeling
Iowa.
was that he was going to go to Iowa, but Indiana, apparently, based on, and I know this is crazy, but I listened to a couple minutes of a West Virginia podcast last night,
Of course you did.
and they were accusing Indiana of tampering
No,
like weeks ago.
no, they wouldn't do that. No,
So
Molly, where would you rather go to school, Indiana or Iowa?
Indiana.
From
Well,
what
there
I've
you
heard
have it.
about Indiana, as a student, Indiana, for me.
Bloomington's a great city.
Heard there's really good campus life as well.
Yeah, I had a cousin that
After class.
went there and
Oh.
had a good time.
Yeah. Seems like a fun place.
Hmm?
Now if they can get basketball back
It'd be a
winning,
really fun place.
it'd be a whole lot of fun. Football doing their part.
when we come back on three-man front, the other tournament, not the Crown,
Oh, yeah.
not the CBI, but the National Invitational Tournament, the oldest tournament in the history of basketball, the NIT. It was played last night. Tonight we've got two more state teams in action. Well, I think North Alabama's also in action, but UAB's playing, Sanford's playing. Big night last night in Atlanta for Jacksonville State. We'll go over all of that. We will take your phone calls. The first part of the show, 1-800-239-WJOX, the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. 1022, Jocks 94.5. If you were up early this morning before morning Jocks, and you're watching the Los Angeles Dodgers take out the Chicago Cubs once again. So the Dodgers are now on pace to go 162-0 this season. Meanwhile, the Chicago Cubs are on pace to go 0-162.
That would break your heart.
That would crush me. I don't know if I'd watch baseball again if that happened.
Yeah, you would. You'd come back around.
Shohei Ohtani goes yard. Former Cardinal Tommy Edman goes yard. Small ballpark there in Tokyo. Must be the altitude. Dodgers win.
They call
Cubs
it Little
lose.
Yankee Stadium. Is that what they call it?
I don't think so.
You're just jealous.
No. Nope. Not at all.
So now both teams will get on their planes. They'll fly back to Arizona. They'll have a week of workouts in Arizona, and then opening day, week from tomorrow.
So do you rest Ohtani and those guys for the next week? Like, how do you handle it with those guys? That would be my question. Because they're all, they're in
Did you
regular
see
season mode
see
now.
the home run by Ohtani?
Uh-huh.
Did you not think that was interference?
Yeah, but in that situation, you can't take it away from
That's
the
what I was
fans
going to say.
in that moment.
There is no way that they're going to take away
No,
Ohtani's home run
not there.
in Japan by a Japanese fan reaching over
No.
and touching the baseball. There's no way.
Was it
that
as
gonna
egregious as what the Yankees fans did in the World Series?
Has the
No.
fan been banned for life?
happen. No. It was. Actually, I think I disagreed with the broadcasters. The broadcasters said they thought it was going to hit the wall if the fan had not. I disagreed. I thought the trajectory showed that the ball was going to be in the stands. So
Close enough.
What if fan interferes in China?
that might be a different story.
I'm not going to interfere with that hand again.
No, don't have to worry about that.
I think you're talking about a different country.
Well, for flu, pollen, and allergy season, keep your home cleaner with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those contributing to allergy and virus, and is proven to be more effective than standard and HEPA air filters. So contact a Trane certified dealer for the Clean Effects Air Cleaner.
So tonight at 6 o'clock over on Jocks 2 100.5, the UAB Blazers will be taking on St. Joseph's. Vegas has installed St. Joseph's, a 5-point favorite tonight against the Blazers. The Blazers won the only meeting between these two teams back in the 1998-99 season. They played in Puerto Rico in a tournament when these two teams played each other. Yaxel Lindeborg averaging around 18 points a game, 11 rebounds, 4 assists per game. UAB ranks 79th in the country in tempo, while they average 82.5 points per game, which is 15th nationally. Offense hopefully can get 82 plus tonight. Find a little defense. So UAB tonight at 6 o'clock. Sanford, meanwhile, they also play at 6 o'clock. They're taking on KD Johnson and George Mason.
Yeah.
How about that? George Mason is a 6.5 point favorite. I never could believe this. In the A10 championship game on Sunday, there was a moment where VCU and George Mason kind of had some, let's just say, some verbal back and forth, and it came to one player maybe kind of putting his hands on another player. And KD Johnson was right in the middle of it. I know that shocks you to begin with, but he was the peacemaker.
Did you see the clip from, I guess it was over the weekend, of the George Mason coach who said he knows he's getting into heaven because he's had to coach KD Johnson on earth? So he knows he's getting into heaven.
Really?
That is a great line.
Wow.
Now, so it goes to this next clip that we're about to play from the morning show this morning. Seth Greenberg from ESPN, he was on with the guys, and he had this interesting comment about Chad Baker Mazara. So take a listen, and we'll get your thoughts on the other side.
Here's the biggest question about Auburn, and it's real simple. Chad Baker Mazara, he needs to straddle the line. And what I mean by straddling the line is, if he's behind the line, he's not aggressive enough. I thought in the SEC tournament he wasn't himself. He didn't play with force. He didn't play with aggression. He didn't play with a chip. Obviously, the Alabama game, he crossed the line. He's got to straddle the line. He's got to play with an edge. He's got to be a little bit chippy. He's just got to make sure he doesn't cross the line. And when he's chippy, this team is different. So a big thing in the tournament is making sure he stays on the court, but still remains and keeps his edge. And Chad Baker's got to control his own controllables. He's got to know where he is in that moment in time. And if Bruce sees him kind of going in the wrong direction, he's got to pull him out. But he's also got to say, when you go back in, I expect you to have that chip. I expect you to compete. I expect you to have an edge. Because Auburn is only good when they have an edge. If they don't have that edge, they're not as good. And then, look, they need Pettiford to play better than he did in the SEC tournament, and he will. I mean, that was a one-off. So, Miles Kelly's got to make some shots. But to me, Chad Baker is the key, because when he has that little bit of an edge, they feed off of that. They play through Janai, but the heart and soul in terms of the chip that Auburn plays with comes from Chad Baker Mazzara, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more. His body language and watching the tournament, it's not just the stats that we saw as a result, but he looked like a different player. Like he was trying not to even look the wrong way. But
he helped someone off the floor.
I think what he just said, that summed it all up.
No, I agree with Seth 100%, just like you said. I mean, he is the kind of the soul of that basketball team. And that edge is what you want. And I know I kept making light of it, but you watch A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
You talk about you want him up on that wall. You need him on that wall. You need Chad Baker Mazzara to play like that for Auburn to be successful.
Yeah, can he find that level 8? Because you don't need him at a 1. And if 10 is Chad Baker Mazzara loses his mind and gets thrown out of a game, like he said, maybe straddling that line. But I don't know how hard that is for a guy like Chad Baker Mazzara. But I'm sure that Bruce Pearl has probably echoed those same sentiments. Because they're going to have him if Auburn's going to make a deep run. They're going to have Chad Baker Mazzara potentially just to get out of Lexington.
Yeah. No, you're right. So that audio was this morning. If you missed that entire interview, you can download the Mac and Cube podcast and listen to that. But Seth Greenberg, interesting comments about what is needed from Chad Baker Mazzara and this Auburn team this weekend.
And what he does away from the ball, and save your comments for cheap shot, but what he does away from the ball and how he can take away offense for the other team. And he's got such quick hands for a guy that's 6'7" and so rangy, and creating turnovers and just creating havoc. And then, of course, what he can do on the offensive end, they're going to have him. Hopefully, for Auburn's sake, they will.
Coming up at 10:45, we will talk to Brian Edwards. We'll get some picks from him for this weekend's college basketball tournament. We will also talk to the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart, coming up at 11, and at 12:30, Blake Lovell from Southeastern 16 will give us his thoughts on his bracket and what he anticipates from the SEC starting tonight with Texas. All that on this Wednesday edition of Three Man Front. It's 10:33, Jocks 94.5. Don't forget, we've got tip-off tonight, UAB and the NIT over on Jocks 2 100.5. Pregame show starts at 5:30. First tip, 6 o'clock, as UAB takes on St. Joseph's tonight in Philadelphia.
A lot of late nights, a lot of tournament action. You're going to be glued to your television. And if you want a great alternative to alcohol, that way you don't wake up the next day and you're hungover, how about our friends at Mystic Beverage, made in Blount County, Alabama? Mystic Beverage, this is the lift blend for all of you Jocks TV watchers right now. And this is the green coffee bean extract that I talk about all the time. It's going to boost both your mind and your body. So if you need to dial in, you got a lot of stuff to do, whether it's the weekend, whether it's your day at work, you can enjoy a great sparkling water infused with cannabinoids. This is the mango flavor. Southern berry's really good. Also the watermelon that they offer, but it's mysticbeverage.com. You can find them at your local Piggly Wiggly, but not only the Lift Blend, you have the High Hills Delta 9 I told you about. Consuming some of those this past weekend when we were sheltered in place because of the severe weather. The Nirvanic, you can try that as well. Check them out, mysticbeverage.com. Find them at your local Piggly Wiggly. We appreciate our friends at Mystic Beverage.
So Alabama Pro Day is going on as we speak down in Tuscaloosa. A lot of the NFL heavy hitters are in T-Town watching Alabama players work out. Last night, Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network, he got a bunch of people on social media going crazy about his tweet. He says former Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe had dinner tonight in Tuscaloosa with Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. GM Omar Khan and quarterbacks coach Tom Arth also was there at the dinner. Now, Conrad, there's a little bit of news coming out about possibly Pittsburgh still kicking the tires on a free agent quarterback.
Yes. So before that, though, the news did come out this morning with Aaron Rodgers that the Minnesota Vikings and him are no longer going to be a fit. So you can cross the Vikings off a list. That leaves a couple of teams, the Steelers probably being at the top of the list now. And so there are reports coming out of Pittsburgh this morning that Aaron Rodgers is still in the mix there in Pittsburgh, and that could be an addition that they make. So, just something to keep an eye on, but it is fascinating to think that a quarterback room that had Russell Wilson and Justin Fields last year, Russell Wilson's still available, but Justin Fields now with the Jets, that quarterback room this upcoming fall could be Aaron Rodgers and Jalen Milroe for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know we've talked about it. The Steelers have the 21st overall pick in the draft. Is that a spot where you are going to reach for a guy like Jalen Milroe if you absolutely fall in love with him? Maybe so. Maybe he's somebody they identify as a day 2 pick, but certainly interesting because, we talked about those mock drafts going back a couple months that had him landing in Pittsburgh, and now here we are, him and Mike Tomlin having dinner in Tuscaloosa.
I'll be the first person to say I laughed.
Yeah.
I laughed at that.
It's better than some of the drafts we've seen that had him in Cleveland, though.
And the Steelers just signed Mason Rudolph, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
They did. They did.
Somebody's got to hold that clipboard, right?
That's right.
I loved Cameron Hayward's comments. Just like, I'm not going to beg or recruit Aaron Rodgers. This is the Steelers. You want to come and play here? Come and play here.
Yep.
But I'm not going to sit here and publicly beg you to come and play for us.
No.
And he said, I'm sure not going on one of those darkness retreats.
Did he actually say
that?
I love that.
Yes.
Molly was just showing me a mock draft that's off the NFL Network.
Yeah, they have Pat's favorite, Jackson Dart, going to the Steelers.
I'll be honest. If you're taking a quarterback with the 21st pick, I'd take Dart over Milroe.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to reach for one of those guys that's maybe not a first-round
Yeah,
talent.
their caption says the Steelers' plan at quarterback is not completely clear at the moment. Even if they were to land Aaron Rodgers, they would still need a long-term option at the position. So take a swing at Dart.
I don't hate that. Hey, it's you gotta define culture. You've got an excellent head coach that his players love. Got a long tradition and history of winning at the highest level. That's not a bad spot to be in coming out of college for a guy like Milroe. He just needs time to develop.
Well, you saw film on Milroe. You saw it throughout his career. He's an incredible athlete. He can throw the deep ball as well as anyone. His problem is anything under 15 yards.
Yep.
That's the problem. And it reared its ugly head at the combine.
Yes, it did. The good news, if you are the Steelers, and that is the spot for him, is you've got George Pickens on the outside. You just signed DK Metcalf on the other side, so you're going to be able to throw it deep.
Just go long, guys.
But yeah,
we'll take care of you.
I think we can. It would just be funny to see some of George Pickens' maybe facial expressions on the sideline at certain times, because he is certainly not somebody that's been shy about voicing his displeasure about quarterback play.
Cameron Haber, he won on a podcast, and he was asked about the darkness retreat, and he said, quote, "I ain't doing that darkness retreat." And then he said, "I don't need any of that crap. Either you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or you don't. It's that simple. That's the pitch. If you want me to recruit, that's a recruiting pitch. Pittsburgh Steelers. If you want to be part of it, so be it. If you don't, no skin off my back."
Well, that's one thing that Adam Schefter said the other day. I think he was on McAfee's show. He just said, I don't understand why this is taking him so long. Talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Well, you either want to play or you don't.
Absolutely. At this point, it's either fish or cut bait. Bottom line. If you want to play, then you need to communicate that and go play. But I think everyone's getting, it was cute a couple of years ago, the whole darkness thing and the drama that was built up around that. But look what has taken place over the last 2 years. There's no more equity. It's like you either want to play now or go ahead and retire and go to Northern California and live your life in a hut. Well, whatever you want to do, that's fine.
And Pat, you can go to an organization like the Jets and you can call your shots and they're going to put up with that. But an organization like the Steelers, no. Nope.
No. And there'll be, I'm sure Schefter or somebody will have a great article diving into the whole process once he signs somewhere. But, again, I just look at it like you don't have a lot of equity, and why you wouldn't want to go somewhere like the Minnesota Vikings that were so clearly set up for you to have 1 or 2 years of great success and then retire. And now you're dragging this process out. I mean, if I'm the Steelers, yeah, sure. If he wants to come on a team-friendly deal for a year or two, fine. But I don't think anybody needs to be chasing a guy like Aaron Rodgers. If he wants to drag his feet, then let him retire.
Go and play in a climate-controlled environment for half of your games, right?
Why not? And
he's hitting the arthritis age.
I just think he didn't want to be Brett Favre, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's 100% why he didn't want to go to Minnesota.
That makes total sense.
Don't want to do that same path.
And that was probably the best setup for him.
Yeah, just like it was for Brett Favre, because Brett Favre was incredible when he was in Minnesota before he retired.
And he would never agree to it, but I thought that the Las Vegas Raiders would have been an easy fit for him.
Oh, West Coast guy.
Maybe Brady didn't want that.
You see those pictures and videos of Tom over the weekend?
Him throwing? I did see that.
He looked.
Stop it.
He looked game ready.
I'm not doing this again.
When we come back, someone that's going to get us ready for March Madness, that is our good friend Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider, MajorWager.com. He's next on Three Man Front. 10:45, Jocks 94.5. We will talk to Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider. Conrad is prepping him now as we speak on the phone. I'm sure Brian is talking some Florida Gators smack to Conrad. Conrad's shaking his head. Let's go now to the Higginbotham hotline. Brian Edwards from MajorWager.com. You can find his work at Southeastern 16 and also, of course, Vegas Insider. What kind of smack were you talking to Conrad? Because he's like got PTSD now every time Grant Nelson gets dunked on. He thinks about what Florida has done to him twice.
I wasn't talking any smack to Conrad.
Okay. I'm just making sure. I mean, he looks disheveled in the other room. That's all. I'm just making sure.
I mean, I think he was reliving a few Florida nightmares over the last 2 weeks.
I was giving Brian's Gators their props for killing Alabama, and I told him that I have them winning my bracket.
I'd be nervous if I was you, because now everybody is expecting Florida to win this tournament. They're playing the best basketball in the country. Is this team ready for that? I don't know if they are.
No, I agree. I hate that everybody's picking us now, but I thought about this the other day. I remember after the 2019 SEC championship game, and I'm switching sports on you. They asked Ed Orgeron, who do you want to play? What's your preference? Where, etc. He goes, don't matter who we play or where we go. Tigers gonna be ready.
That's a very good by the way.
So basically, I'm saying, yes, we got the toughest region. Yes, we should have been the number 1 overall seed. But it doesn't matter where they send us or who they send us. Just don't send anybody that they want back.
All right, so hold on a second.
Wait a minute.
I'm going to go back to something you just said.
Toughest region?
Well, no, I'm going back to say that did you just mutter the fact that you believe that Florida should have the overall number 1 seed in this tournament?
Absolutely. They have a better record than Auburn, and they beat Auburn's ass without Elijah Martin.
Okay, now hold on.
Yeah, they did.
Now hold on a second. Let me back up a second. What was Florida's non-conference schedule ranked? Give me some of those wonderful non-conference wins by Florida.
Okay, it was not our fault that
Wait a minute.
FSU and Virginia were no good this year. I mean, when we scheduled,
blame it on Scott Strickland. Come on.
Yeah, I'm blaming it on Tony Bennett retiring.
There you go.
I mean, we had Virginia, Wake, FSU. I mean, it wasn't the strongest, but we had a lot of power programs in there.
I mean, Brian, listen, hold on a second. Brian, listen, I love you, brother. I've known you a long time. But I mean, when you looked at that schedule, did you mean to tell me that you thought Wake Forest and Florida State basketball was going to be worth a darn, that was going to be able to prop up your net ranking? Come on.
I certainly thought North Carolina was.
Now, that's different. Absolutely. I agree with that.
And Virginia, and Arizona State. I mean, we play power. Look, our strength of schedule is not very good. I'm not going to win this argument. You are correct.
Lost by 20 and scored 44 points in Tennessee.
That's after we beat them by 30.
Lost at home to Missouri.
Okay. All right. Listen, let's all agree to disagree because let's get to money-making opportunities. Okay.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, let's get our money-making opportunities.
Absolutely. All right. First off, let's start with this guy named Robert Morris, who's taking on Alabama. These numbers here, most people love Alabama when it comes an over situation, but they're taking on Robert Morris here. I think the total is 165. You like something here, over, under?
Yes, I like over 165.5. Let's see. First off, 165.5 is pretty low for an Alabama total, and Alabama's had totals higher than 165 in 10 of their last 11 games, and the Tide has had 169 combined points or more in 9 of its last 10 games. And let's see, 179 or more combined in 8 of Alabama's last 9. Ken Palm, Alabama, number 1 in the country, adjusted tempo, number 4 in the nation in offensive efficiency and pace. Give me another Alabama over here.
All right, you like Alabama in the over in that one. We continue to be joined by our friend Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider. He joins us on the Higginbotham hotline. We will stay with the SEC. A popular pick, I'm sure, is the 13-4 matchup there in Denver. You got Texas A&M and Yale. Interesting with the over, just based on the style of play from both of these teams, and they get at it defensively. Yale, we know what they did last year. What do you see in this one, Brian?
Yeah, so I like these are two of my smaller plays, but I do like Yale plus the 7, and I also like the over. So you look at Texas A&M, and they've been an under team all year long, but not here recently. Let's see, they're 5-1 to the over in their last 6. They had 155 combined against Auburn. They had 159 combined against Florida. They had 170 combined against Vandy. And they had 146 combined against Tennessee. As for Yale, they've got 2 really good seniors that are playing in their 3rd tournament in 4 years. And obviously, we know that they beat Auburn last year. And 2 of their best players from that team are back, including Pulikitis, who scored 28 in that game. And Texas A&M is just not in very good form right now. In fact, they have lost, let's see, they are 2-5 in their last 7, both straight up and against the spread. So I'll go Yale plus the 7 and over 140-ish at last look.
All right, what about Arkansas? This is an intriguing matchup. I think a lot of people might be hoping that Coach Cal can get a win because that could set up Coach Cal against Rick Pitino in the second round. Your thoughts on Arkansas plus 4.5 or plus 5?
So this is one of my favorite ones. I like Arkansas. Now, I will certainly concede that, yes, I do indeed have a fear that Bill Self will out-coach the heck out of Calipari. But Arkansas is in much better form. Their last 13 games, 8-5 straight up, 9-3-1 against the spread. But 2 of the 3 non-covers were by a half point or 1 combined point. Their last 8 is underdogs, 6-2 against the spread, 3 outright wins. And all of that good stuff right there recently was without Boogie Flan, who's going to be back. He's missed 15 games in a row due to a hand injury. He was averaging 14.9 points, 5.7 assists, 3.4 rebounds, and 1.5 steals per game in their first 18. And because it was a hand injury, I'm not as much worried about his cardio. You would think he was able to, keep doing cardio and staying in decent shape. So I would think he won't be getting gassed too bad. I mean, but at least be able to give him 20 minutes or so. And that'll be huge because they've been down to a 7-man rotation. And the Jayhawks are only 7-8 straight up and 5-10 against the spread in their last 15, dating back to January 25th. So I like the Hogs here and maybe get a little bit of the money line, plus 160 to plus 170, but that's for less.
6-11 matchup, Ryan. BYU, VCU.
Yes. BYU is one of my favorites here. They've got several edges. First off, they stopped playing on Friday in the Big 12 tournament semifinals, whereas VCU had to play, Sunday and had to play 3 games in 3 days. And now they have to fly across the country, across 2 time zones, into altitude. It was a 4-hour flight. BYU had a 55-minute flight. And BYU is used to playing in altitude. But then you just have BYU has won 9 of its last 10, the only loss to Houston, and they're 8-2 against the spread during that stretch. And VCU only played 2 teams that made the tournament field. They lost by 7 at New Mexico, and they beat Colorado State in Vegas, like BYU -3.
I know I'm going to set you up on this one. This is a softball for you. I assume you like Florida plus 100 to be the West Region champion.
That is my favorite bet. Now,
imagine that.
If you want, I have a lot of units on that. But I will say, if anybody's going to beat Florida, St. John's poses the biggest threat. So maybe for a lot less, put a little on St. John's at 6-1, but heavy on the Gators, even money to win the West Region. I also have their team total over 91 in round 1 against Norfolk State.
What about some of your other smaller plays that you're looking at right now?
Yeah, something you're just sprinkling a little bit on.
Just a little something to
Well,
tie you
it was
over.
It was one of my bigger plays early in the week at 149, and that's the over on Texas Xavier tonight. The over's on a 12-1 run for
Nice.
Texas, and most of those combined scores in the 150s and 160s, and the over's on a 10-3 run for Xavier. However, that number's moved to 151 or 151.5. I still like it, but I don't love it like I did early in the week. Smaller plays. Let's go Missouri Drake over 132, lowest total of the year for Missouri. And what was the good stat I had on this one?
No, wait. So you said the under
Over.
or over Missouri?
Over
No.
132.
No, yeah, over 132. They've only had two or three games that had combined scores less than 132. That was two games. They've had combined scores less than 132. Let's go 132. I also like Drake plus 6.5 or 7 just for a little bit. And I like let's see. Omaha and St. John's over 148. Pat's familiar with league totals. Omaha's been going over a lot.
Yeah.
And I hear the music. I'm trying to think if I'm missing another play. I lean Georgia plus 6. Yeah.
Okay. That is awesome. That's some incredible numbers. Well, listen, I hope you know that we love you, Brian.
Yes.
And we're just having some fun with you with Florida.
Oh, no. I enjoyed the banter and the back and forth. Absolutely. Love it.
I'm not having any fun.
Just be prepared
Hey, by the
because,
way-
hey, Conrad has already got a perfect screen grab of Grant Nelson dunking. Who was he dunking over at the SEC tournament in Nashville?
Was
Well,
it Condon in that
I
game?
think it was Condon. He's got one coming to you as soon as Alabama does something good in the tournament.
All right. I can't wait to see it, guys. Enjoyed it.
Hey, thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Enjoy the weekend.
All right.
That
Have
is-
a great weekend.
Thank you. That's Brian Edwards, the voice of the Crimson Tide. Chris Stewart is next. It is 11 o'clock here on Three Man Front. Appreciate Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider. Gave us some great picks, great numbers. If you would like to invest in some opportunities, go back and download the Three Man Front podcast.
There were some opportunities. I loved what he said about BYU.
Yes,
pretty good about
the
that.
altitude and
but quickly,
like that.
by the way, I was doing a deep dive. So Auburn's first opponent, Alabama State, 7th game of the season, they took on Omaha, the Mavericks, who he just gave out on one of those plays, and Alabama State won that game by 18.
Wow.
Well, the $1 million bracket challenge is back. Pick a perfect bracket and win $1 million. Pick 60 or more games correct and win $10,000. Plus, one local winner with the best bracket will score a $250 gift card to Twin Peaks. So for more information and to make your picks, go to JocksFM.com and click the $1 million bracket tab. Good luck from us at Jocks 94.5.
So another All-American team was just announced just a couple of minutes ago. The National Association of Basketball Coaches, or the NABC. First team, Janai Broom, Mark Sears, Walter Clayton Jr., Cooper Flagg, and Braden Smith of Purdue. That is your first team. Second team, Cam Jones of Marquette, Kyle Kalkbrenner from Creighton, R.J. Lewis Sr. from St. John's, John Tanjay from Wisconsin, J.T. Toppin from Texas Tech. That's your second team. You sense a theme developing here, unfortunately. Third team, L.J. Cryer from Houston, Eric Dixon, Villanova, P.J. Haggerty from Memphis, Chaz Lanier from Tennessee, and Zakai Ziegler from Tennessee. That's your first, second, and third team. No Yax Lindeborg anywhere to be found. Disappointing yesterday that he didn't even get an honorable mention by the Associated Press.
Yeah,
that's just unbelievable.
Well, that's not doing your homework. You leaving him off that list, even getting votes, that's you not paying attention.
Joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, he does it each and every week. Thanks to our good friends at Craneworks. It's time to talk to the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart. Chris joins us now. Hey, Chris, what's going on today?
Good, man. Just getting packed up, about to walk out the door and head to Tuscaloosa, so try Cleveland.
So last year it was Spokane. This year it's Cleveland.
Yes, sir.
Same wardrobe?
See the world. See the world. I don't even remember what I wore yesterday, man, let alone.
No, I'm just saying, are you going quarter zip? It can be a tricky time of year with weather and clothing options.
Well, with me, it's going to be quarter zip practically every day anyway. But yes, it'll be quarter zip to the airport anyway, and we got 2 or 3 of those packs ready to make what we hope will be Cleveland to Newark. That'll be the direct path that we will go.
And so last year, Landrum recommended when you were in Spokane to go. Was it Bing Crosby's birthplace or something? What was it?
It was something like that. Yeah.
I do remember that. I did not make that trip, even though I had a couple of pretty good meals. Great little town. Had a nice visit. I'll tell you what we did last time we went to Cleveland. We brought Bruce Pearl with us back to the SEC, and the rest is history.
I do remember that.
We played Wisconsin, Milwaukee, got popped. They beat somebody else. Went to the Sweet 16, and he went from Milwaukee to Tennessee, and then obviously Tennessee to Auburn. So yeah, that was the last trip we made to that city.
Going back to last weekend, first game, great. Second game, Nelson injury, playing a Florida team that many believe is the best team in the country, or playing that way right now. What were your takeaways from the 2 games that you saw there in Nashville?
We're better with Grant Nelson. Florida is playing the best in the country. No, but Alabama missed some opportunities. I thought in the first half, even when Grant was playing, to do some more damage. And then when he goes down, and really the first possession of the second half, when even though Florida didn't score, they got like 5 opportunities on the basket. You remember that? Not a second chance opportunity, but it was like a 5 rebound deal. And even though they didn't score, the tone had been set. And it steadily went the wrong direction from there. And it's just an example of what you have to go with, regardless of which five you got on the floor. You've got to be in attack mode the whole time. This team, I'm not sure this team has a lot of in between. You know, they've been great, and they've been, I'm not going to say bad, because truthfully, only the final 15 minutes maybe against Florida would it even come close to being in that category. But they're not as good, certainly, when they're not in true attack mode. So hopefully that's something that won't be an issue in any of the games that are to come, because whichever game it happens in next will be the last one, I think.
Chris, it goes without saying it's going to be huge to be able to potentially get Grant Nelson back in the lineup. Probably not for this game against Robert Morris, but if you advance, then obviously looking better for the weekend. But outside of Grant Nelson, what else is a key to you with this basketball team now moving forward in this bracket play for them to be successful as they were last year?
I really think that, while it's a number of things, among them, in taking care of the basketball while still playing at your pace would be in that category. I think Mohamed Diabate is a major factor, or will be. When he was in attack mode and was dominant, aggressive, any of those phrases you want to use, he was extremely good and very impactful in the win against Auburn, in the victory against Kentucky, and was not much of a factor, and neither was Alabama in the loss that they had to Florida. And I'm not going to go as far as saying as goes Cliff, as goes the team, but he is very much a difference maker and an impactful player. And when he is around double-figure rebounds and gives you more than 6 or 8 points, then we're a different club. And while you fully expect and need Mark to do what Mark does and other guards to help him, most notably LeBaron Filine when he was playing so well at the end of the regular season, and also in that first game of the conference tournament, I think Cliff, at basically 7 feet, his athleticism is a guy that, especially without Grant or Grant limited, will be even more important to Alabama having success or an early exit.
Chris Stewart.
Or let me say earlier than they want, which would be anything other than Championship Monday.
Right. Chris Stewart, courtesy of our friends at Craneworks on the Higginbotham Hotline, joining us here on Three Man Front. For Nate Oates, I know for different coaches, and sometimes you get the coach speak, and it's we're treating this just like every other game. But from your observations, how much different is NCAA tournament preparation for Nate Oates and his club versus maybe what you've seen from other coaches in the past?
I don't know that it's dramatically different. Here's one thing that's different about him, and whether it's a regular season game or whether it's the tournament, he's not afraid to talk about what's at stake. He's not afraid to say, look, guys, we should, and I haven't heard him say this, but I wouldn't be surprised if behind closed doors he doesn't say, we should beat Robert Morris. We feel like we've played a better schedule. We've got a better roster. We should play well and win. But if we don't play well, you're vulnerable. We've seen who we are when we don't play well. And I just think his honesty with teams can be very helpful for a squad. They listen to him. They know what's at stake. I think the guys that were there last year, and there's not a lot, but the ones that were there last year know what it takes game in and game out to be where you want to be, which is the Final Four. And for Alabama now, not just the Final Four, but winning a national championship. They understand what it takes to get to that point. And I don't think he minces any words with anybody, whether it's behind the microphone, at a podium, at a press conference, or if it's behind closed doors talking to his team. He's very real. He's very authentic, and they know exactly what he's thinking and what's at stake when they talk to him.
Chris, not asking you to predict the brackets or the potential opponents, but when you look at the 4 different regional brackets, in regards to where Alabama is, were you happy with what you saw? Did you see it as if Alabama plays up to their potential, they're capable of being able to navigate that potentially to another Final Four? Just your thoughts on the other regions in regards to the brackets.
Yeah, frankly, I haven't looked that far down the road, and I'm not doing it from a coach speak standpoint, but I haven't really been one to fill out a bracket much. Certainly not, in a fan's view like I used to. When your team is in it, and especially when you feel like your team has a great chance of winning the whole thing, then I think you stay pretty much focused in on that. And beyond what we will have this week and where we're going to go immediately, should we advance that far, I don't even know, who else is in the path. I don't, and I'm not trying to sound like a coach, and that probably is not very helpful to you for the purposes of your show. But I haven't even looked to see. If you throw at me who's there, look, facing the minimum number of SEC teams, I think is a good formula. And obviously Vanderbilt could be the next team that you face, and you're kind of torn. You want to see the league do well. Yeah, their seed is lower than St. Mary's, but I would rather see it personally, and I may be totally wrong and regret this once it happens, if it does, but I think I'd rather see St. Mary's than Vandy, simply because you've played these teams. We know how tough they are. They've played us. They won't be as intimidated because they've seen Alabama. They would love another crack at Alabama. And I think, frankly, now most SEC teams are just glad to see somebody else as long as they possibly can, knowing full well that with the number that you have in the tournament, there's going to be a pretty high inevitability of facing another one of those teams to make it as far as you want to go.
You stole my next question when you mentioned, I was going to ask you if there was a preference between Vanderbilt and St. Mary's, but I'll ask you this one. Take off the headset, Chris Stewart, the basketball fan growing up, and how many years that we've consumed this tournament. Yeah. What is the number one memory? And let's just say not an Alabama memory, but NCAA tournament memory that comes to mind for you as a fan.
When you first brought it up, and normally I'll give you answers based on the very first thing that pops into my head, and you could ask me tomorrow and it might be something different. But for me, it's just going to NCAA tournament games at the BJCC when I was a kid, and how big a deal that was to have it in town. I do remember when Alabama was playing in Birmingham for its first 2 games the year that, Wimp had Derek McKee and Farmer and Mark, and I guess Michael Ainsley would have been on that team as well. And they got popped in the Sweet 16 against Providence. But just coming to see them in Birmingham and how electric that was, going back even before that as a kid, I remember when, and again, this goes back to my dad being in charge of ushers at the Civic Center. And before there was then UAB Arena, of course, now Bartow Arena, but how exciting it was that UAB made it to an Elite Eight, a Sweet 16 for the first time, and then the Elite Eight in Birmingham, and was 4 minutes away from going to a Final Four. And just how big it was. And see, that's why I fell in love with basketball, was in the early 80s and how big the game was. Wimp had the great run of NCAA tournaments going during that stretch. Coach Bartow. Sonny had teams that went and were exciting, and had one that obviously went to the Elite Eight, I guess, first before either UAB or Alabama did. So the teams had success, but even our small college programs were really good, and just fell in love with it. And to now get a chance to, to broadcast the Final Four that I did a year ago, and I guess it would have been 2 years ago now, doing NCAA tournament games in Birmingham, just incredibly special. I know I say it all the time, but I don't say it lightly, how blessed and fortunate I am to do what I do, but where I get the chance to do it, and to go from being the kid, who looked down and was picking out sportscasters and play-by-play guys and going, oh, that's cool. I know that guy, to now the sadness of realizing, man, we're not really much of anybody. Even though there's probably some kid that's up there and sees us and thinks it's kind of cool. I hate to disappoint him and tell him we're really not a big deal, but it's a special thing. It truly is.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because there's so many memories for me just going as a fan to the BJCC when we would get the regionals every so often. But also for me, it's the iconic 1992 Grant Hill Christian Laettner. I remember where I was. I was on spring break in Panama City Beach with my parents, and we were watching it in the living room. It was really, really cold that spring break. And then the other one would have been 1998, Bryce Drew hitting the buzzer beater versus Ole Miss.
Yeah. That was disappointing because it was an SEC team and such a rare occurrence for Ole Miss to be there and to have it, if you weren't pulling for the Rebels for whatever reason, that is a great iconic moment. It's disgusting, if you were pulling for the Rebels that day or were a true Ole Miss fan. But yeah, I mean, Bryce Drew's forever linked with that. And, when we played his Grand Canyon team last year, that's what the conversation was about mostly, was Bryce Drew and his one shining moment, and what that did for Valpo and what it did for him and his father and their legacy, and will forever be there. But man, I remember that. Ty Sedney going coast to coast for UCLA. I remember being at Legion Field for a Birmingham Fire game when the word came across that Duke had upset UNLV a year after UNLV had just destroyed Duke in the NCAA tournament. Excuse me. But man, those are great moments, and it's why this is such a revered week and an exciting time for sports fans everywhere. Even if you're not a big college basketball fan, obviously I am, but even if you're not a big fan of the sport, you're paying attention right now. It's much like the Super Bowl, I guess, for others that for whatever reason don't like football.
Well said. It's Chris.
Or don't follow it as close anyway.
No, but we've all been at Super Bowl parties for that person.
Sure.
It's like, why are you here?
Exactly.
For the commercials.
Yeah.
That is
right.
Chris Stewart, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Chris, you join us every week by a staple here in the Southeast, and that's Craneworks.
Yeah. And look, David's been terrific to me and you guys, I know, for a long, long time. And it's an honor to get to tell people about Craneworks, the most trusted name for crane and equipment rental in the Southeast for over 30 years. A fleet of cranes ranging from 2.5 tons to 500. They've got trained and certified operators making sure the job's done right, and they do so with locations in Birmingham, Nashville, Mobile, and now Huntsville. Go online to learn more at craneworks.com.
Chris, safe travels, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all. Take care.
Chris Stewart, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. He'll be on the call for Alabama fans, hopefully 2 games there in Cleveland, joining us courtesy of Craneworks on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
We're supposed to get some rain tonight in the next 24 hours. Cold front coming through. So that means water can get into your home if your home has not been properly waterproofed. I'm talking about that water getting into your crawl space, which can bring dangerous mold, mildew, and wood rot into your home. But APS can help you today. Call them at 205-951-9717 because it's very important that your home's foundation is obviously taken care of. The APS crawl space encapsulation system, they can stop that water from getting into your home. It can keep the pests out while lowering your energy costs, all by giving them a call today at 205-951-9717. Start protecting your home today with APS, established in 1977 to solve the most challenging issues around your home. That number again, 205-951-9717, or visit their website at alabamaprofessional.com.
We'll discuss some of the takeaways, what Chris Stewart just told us. Also, we'll get to the text line for the first time today, 205-834-9450. It is an NCAA and NIT Tournament Wednesday. It's three-man front. We're glad you're here for it. Jocks 94.5.
Appreciate the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Chris Stewart, brought to you by Crane Works, joins us each and every Wednesday on the show as he is packing his bags, about to head out the door, heading up to Cleveland, Ohio.
And the road to San Antonio has already begun with the NCAA tournament. And maybe if you're in Alabama, Auburn, maybe a fan of another team, and you're planning on making a drive there to San Antonio for the Final Four, well, you can do it in a Dobbs Ford. That's right. Dobbs Ford, Parkway East in Birmingham. Wonderful people. Let's start there. And just the service you're going to get and the down-to-earth folks that are going to take care of you. And they genuinely just care about your experience as a customer, but also as a human being. That's what separates them. They got Alabama's largest showroom inventory, which is awesome. And they're going to beat any competitor's price. The F-150s, if you want to go with a souped-up Dobbs edition, those are really nice. The Broncos Sports, the Mustangs, the Escapes, the Explorers, also a great selection of pre-owned. They run monthly specials as well. These folks will work with you, and they're going to take care of you. Dobbs Ford, Parkway East in Birmingham, dobbsfordbirmingham.com. Check out that selection and make sure you tell them Landrum from 3-Man Front and Jock 94.5 sent you.
So the employee of the month, Conrad, was telling us during the commercial break, it's a court order. We're
when does
mandated
this
that
end?
we have to say
When does it
employee
end?
of the month.
It's supposed to be 30 days. I can see he loves it. He is just
We've only got, 11 days left,
He's
something like that?
bathing in the
so.
praise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Molly wins it next month, what we've got to deal with, these two?
No,
Back to back?
I'll be more humble. Don't worry.
Will you? Okay. That's good. Anywho, the employee of the month, Conrad, was telling me that in a press conference this morning, Will Wade, what was his answer he gave when they asked about the NC State job?
Yes.
That if he had been talking to him.
Yes.
It's a strong arse possibility.
Said yes.
Yes. And according to people there, he had a big grin on his face while he was answering
Really?
the question.
Was he wearing red?
No.
Okay, so watch how I tie this in.
Okay.
Okay. You're employee of the month. I'm going to try to teach you something here. Okay.
I can't wait.
Where did Will Wade go to school? What college?
I don't know.
Clemson.
Oh, okay. Forgot. Yeah, he did go there as a student. Yeah.
Clemson's current basketball coach has been rumored to potentially be a name to watch for either Indiana or Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
A story just broke moments ago that Clemson is now finalizing a new 6-year deal for Clemson head coach Brad Brownell that will keep him there through 2031.
Ooh.
This is Agent Jimmy Sexton. Seems straight out of his playbook.
So he went 18-2 this year in the ACC. I think me and Landrum could coach a team that could go at least 500 in the ACC this year.
Beat Duke.
They did beat Duke.
But yes, they did go 18-2. Which is impressive.
They're a good team.
27-6 overall this year for Clemson.
6-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not invested in football anymore?
And Dabo just started to use the transfer portal.
Brownell received a new 5-year contract worth $20 million after he took his team to the Elite Eight and lost to Alabama last year.
Totally forgot that they were in the Elite Eight versus Alabama last year.
Oh, yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah. I don't know how. I did.
Took care of business, just like 2 of the times in the college football playoff. 2 times it didn't go great, but
You went for a double-double that night, right?
I did, yeah. Me personally. Yep.
Did you learn anything there?
10 beers and 10 wahoos while I was watching the game. That was my double-double last year.
10 beers?
That was when we were on the bachelor trip for
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
What did the guy wake up and he couldn't find something? What was it?
My beanie. That's why Alabama lost to UConn, because one of my friends stole my beanie.
I
and
thought it
wouldn't
was something
Tell
else.
me where it is, and then had to watch the UConn game without it.
I remember that story differently. I think Pat and I may have come up with
we came
another
up with
scenario of something else that was missing.
I'm sure you did. My dignity?
No.
Well, that was also the weekend that he was a no-show at our award ceremony. Remember that, Molly?
Oh, yeah.
Who was?
The other 3 members.
I only show up for individual awards.
Apparently so.
Apparently.
I just kind of throw up in my mouth a little bit when I get off the elevator every day. When I look up and I see that screen.
Just come up the back way.
It's not the picture I would have used.
No. I would have used the picture of him gagging from last week out here on the back porch as he was failing another food challenge.
Looks like a baby bird.
Yep. Guy's mouth wide open.
Just waiting for mama to
drop something
spit
in his
those
mouth.
regurgitated worms.
Man, who would have known winning Employee of the Month would be the worst thing that happened to me this month? I would have never known.
We made it a point to turn it into something very negative for you.
I can tell. Oh,
Why didn't you decline it and give it to someone like Molly that deserved it?
I'm sorry, Molly.
Okay.
It was very selfish.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Say, I can't in good faith take this award. My teammate Molly was much better in the month of February than I was.
Yeah.
Well, as you let me know, you thought I was better in January than February.
Yeah, I thought January was a good month for you, coming off the Alabama loss and not getting the college football playoff, the Michigan loss. You were good in January, but then you kind of faltered in February.
Happens to the best of us.
I thought you were great in December.
Thank you. Thought December is one of my better months as well. Thank you.
You were only here for 9 shows.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, this is Three Man Front. We're open until 12:30. Love to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX. Courtesy GMC text line. Open right now. 205-834-9450. .34 Jocks 94.5. Alabama Pro Day is going on as we speak down in Tuscaloosa. Some eye-popping numbers that we will share with you momentarily. That's right, eye-popping. If these are true, all this talk about first-rounders, man, it might be more of a solid prediction coming out of Tuscaloosa. We'll tell you more about in a second.
Well, something else that's eye-popping is winning $1 million because the $1 million bracket challenge is back. Pick a perfect bracket and win $1 million. Pick 60 or more games correct, win $10,000. Plus, one local winner with the best bracket will score a $250 gift card to Twin Peaks. So for more information and to make your picks, go to jocksfm.com and click the $1 million bracket tab. Good luck from us at Jocks 94.5.
Think about if you did win the bracket challenge and you had the perfect bracket. Not only the $1 million, I don't know if that would be life changing, but how many deals you would get off of that. I write a book, How I Pick My Perfect Bracket.
Yep. What I ate for breakfast that morning before I made my picks.
Yeah. What kind of pen?
Yep.
Did I use a pen?
You'd be on Good Morning America. You'd be doing the whole gauntlet. I like the mascots.
I like the color of the uniform.
You know, if it ever happens, that's how it's not going to be somebody that sat down and broke down, by statistical analysis, the perfect bracket. It's going to be, I don't know.
I came in. They told me I had to fill one out.
I've been on a 3-day bender. I got a pen out.
I clicked the randomizer button. It just makes the picks for you. Yeah.
I hadn't slept in 3 days.
Yeah.
I was delirious.
I just started picking teams.
Just started picking teams.
I won $1 million.
Sure enough. I like how this
would be nice.
This fictitious person is now turned into
I know.
Leroy.
My question is, if we were doing a show in Boston or New York, would we have like the New York or Boston accent instead of the redneck accent that we were doing?
Probably. I can only say Pakyaka. That's all I can say. In the Boston accent.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Wicked bracket.
Harvard.
Okay, Harvard.
Boston.
Smart.
Wicked smart.
Pretty good.
So you say it, you just don't say they are. Just smart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Take your word for it.
I'll work on it.
Pro Day going on in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Last night, Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, he had dinner with Jalen Milroe. That got a lot of people talking on social media. Today, Pro Day, some early returns on the 40-yard dash by Jalen Milroe. Various reports have him right under 4.5 seconds. But all of a sudden, the University of Alabama just tweeted out a video and the time of 4.37 for Jalen Milroe. So that was their time. If that is the case, that would be the third fastest recorded sprint for a quarterback in the history of combines. Would you like to take a guess the two fastest in front of Jalen Milroe, if this time is verified?
Lamar Jackson.
He's one.
A good one.
Michael Vick. It's pretty good company to be in there.
So there's multiple scouts. Everyone's doing their own times. But if that time does come in that neighborhood, like Conrad said before we went to the last break, you could be finding yourself Jalen Milroe seriously as a first-round pick because somebody would be like, we're going to find a place for him. The third fastest time of any quarterback, just behind Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson.
It can't hurt. Do you believe it?
They did 4.37?
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt that the dude's got incredible speed. I mean, he's got tremendous athleticism. It's like we said last hour, I think his biggest issue is when you see him trying to throw those intermediate passes and maybe some of the decision-making that you've seen on film.
But you can't teach speed. So if he ran the third fastest of any quarterback, that should bode well for Jalen Milroe.
No doubt. There's no question. I mean, you said it. I mean, one thing that never goes into a slump is speed.
That's it, man.
So
205-834-9450. The Jocks text line is open, as it is all the time. We'll get to your text right now. And Tom, going back to Conrad and some of his comments, apparently, that he made on Conrad and Friends or Morning Jocks this morning. I'm not sure if Tom is saying this tongue in cheek or if he was being serious, but he said Conrad knows good basketball. Because he didn't think at times it was good basketball last night in the first game that we got. That was thrilling and very enjoyable to watch. Oh, you should have seen the reaction too. So we had our league bowling night last night, and they had the TVs up above the lane. And that last minute of Alabama State and St. Francis, everybody, and then when it happened and he hit the shot, the entire place erupted.
I'm sorry. I was on the phone. Was somebody mad about what I said about the game last night?
Were you really?
What? I was on the phone, yeah.
Yeah.
With one of our lovely callers.
Yeah. Well, somebody said you know good basketball.
Oh,
We couldn't tell if Tom was being serious or...
I'm going to take that as a compliment, Tom. Thank you.
This one reads, I'm with Conrad. Bad basketball. Auburn by 50. Michael says someone should name their bracket surstrumming. That's a good idea. Stinky fish.
I won't even be able to look at it. You know what we had for dinner last night? Salmon.
No, you didn't.
And it's much different, clearly. It was tough. I'm not saying this just to be funny on the show.
Right.
It was legitimately difficult.
Yeah, I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, it was tough. And my wife is a wonderful cook, but
How did she prepare the salmon?
it was like a honey glaze kind of thing on it. So I mean, takes a little bit of the fishiness away, but yeah, when she said, "Oh yeah, I think I want to do salmon tonight," I said, "All right."
Did she ever do salmon croquettes?
No, I've never had that.
Okay. Ooh.
What is that?
They smell like
that's bad stuff.
What's that?
Some people love them, so sorry. Don't text.
Is it just the way you prepare the salmon, or what?
It's like a deep fried salmon ball.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know if I would like that.
It's a croquette.
Yeah, it's
I guess would it be similar to like a chicken cordon bleu that's like fried on the outside?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's in the smell, it's pungent.
See, it's the smell for me.
Yeah.
And some people say, well, if it's fresh, then it shouldn't smell. And I agree, but most of it has always smelled to me. And I can't, salmon's not my thing.
No, it's good for you though.
I could do raw tuna. Not good tuna.
Oh, tuna in a pouch. I'm good to go.
Comparing Iowa and Indiana, we have a listener that chimes in and says, Iowa City, so far superior to IU, minus the 3 to 4 months of winter.
Still Iowa.
Tell them, Molly.
Is Iowa the last school in the Division I? Would that be the last school that you would choose to attend? Like it is your least favorite?
Well, her brother went there.
Yeah.
I know, but she clearly is not a big fan of.
Maybe not the last. Because that texter has a point. Like Iowa City, like it is a really cool college town. With me being a Husker, I can't do it.
Okay, out of the Big Ten though, would it be your last choice?
Probably not. No.
What would be your last choice in the Big Ten?
I don't know. I probably wouldn't go to like Purdue or Rutgers.
Okay. That'd be two that I'd thrown out.
Yeah. Okay, so Iowa greater than Purdue and Rutgers. Okay.
Sam says, talking about whether you would rather go to school, my niece, who's a softball pitcher at Thompson, just signed a letter of intent to play at Indiana. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Very nice.
We've got picks coming in. Somebody screenshotting their picks, and they're there in Biloxi, apparently. And they've got quite the parlay. Pat, Montana plus 19, Clemson minus 6, Kansas minus 3, A&M minus 6, Lipscomb plus 17, Marquette minus 2, and Liberty plus 9.
What do they win?
Risking 5 to win 205.
Okay.
Maybe that didn't pay out as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, I thought that'd be in the
A lot of,
four figures maybe, but it's also $5.
Probably got a lot of minus 110s on there.
Mike reliving some tournament history from Birmingham and the BJCC when it comes to the NCAA tournament. They said the same year, and I think he was referencing something that Chris brought up on the show in our conversation, the voice of the Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart. He said that same year in Birmingham, number 14, Austin Peay beat number 3, Illinois.
That's right. The Governors sure did. I think that was the game in which Dick Vitale was already kind of a thing, but ESPN, back then ESPN used to show some of the games. This was before CBS got full control of the tournament. ESPN had some of these first round games, and I'll never forget that. I think that was the game in which Dick Vitale says, if the Governors beat Illinois, I will stand on my head. And he actually did it in studio.
And then we had the year that Providence came in here.
Mm-hmm.
Did they beat Kansas? Was that Kansas that they beat? Was that God Sham God? Seems like it. Or am I confusing years? I do that now. I'm getting older.
You're talking about 87 when they
No,
came
that
through
would have
here?
been, would that have been Billy Donovan's? No, this would have been 90s.
Yeah, 87 is when Patino brought Providence down here, and their first round game is they beat UAB on UAB's home court at the BJCC in the first round of the NCAA tournament, beat them 90-68. And then they played Austin Peay the next game because Austin Peay had upset Illinois. And so then Providence beat Austin Peay. And then guess who they played next? Wimp Sanderson in Alabama. And beat them at Freedom Hall in Louisville. Because a lot of people thought that that was the year because, you know, UAB and Alabama's only played one time. And UAB beat them 58-56 in Tuscaloosa. And that was the year that many people believed that Alabama and UAB was on a collision course to play in the NCAA tournament. And Rick Pitino happened and Billy Donovan because they knocked off UAB first and then they knocked out Wimp Sanderson in Alabama in the Sweet 16 there at Freedom Hall.
All right, so the year I was referencing was 1997, and it was Providence versus Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona won that game 96-92.
I believe that's the same regional that was North Carolina there?
North Carolina, Louisville. I'm trying to, let's see this one. It's not going to let me open it up. They might have been.
Yeah, because I remember because Lou Olson was the head coach of Arizona, and you had Bill, I think Gullidge. He was the head coach of North Carolina. Remember, he took over for Dean Smith. And I remember a cocky columnist here in Birmingham wrote a hit piece on North Carolina.
Who would that have been?
Some guy that works for the SEC network now. So I remember being down there and having to deal with being in the same vicinity as Paul Feinbaum. It's always fun.
Drake, a big Florida fan, says a lot of people putting a lot of hype on my Gators to win the championship. I hope they do, but when it's this much hype, it never happens.
Except
correction,
last year.
UConn.
Yep.
Burr says poor Conrad, he can't catch a break.
Thank you, Burr.
Can't change a tire either.
Yeah, Burr didn't like my comment yesterday at the restaurant during the commercial break. Remember my comment about the voting?
He got a kick out of that.
Yeah,
one.
Burr laughed. I made Burr laugh yesterday.
BB here. After I glanced down at Conrad's Frodo feet yesterday at Social Taco, I may need to rethink the high heel challenge. May not be able to find a big enough pair.
Frodo, did you not wear socks yesterday?
No.
BB for the win.
No,
Conrad,
it was warm.
You're in public.
At a restaurant, right?
Oh.
They were closed-toe
I'm
shoes.
surprised Taylor didn't come up there and run you out.
I'm so glad I wasn't there. No offense.
They're closed-toe. I'm not wearing socks today, Mom.
That's disgusting. Yeah, but in public,
In
this
public.
is different.
This is different.
Public.
Oh.
People are trying to eat Conrad.
Yes, that's disgusting.
Yeah, BB was ready to take you to DSW until she took a look at your feet yesterday.
I know.
If I win the bracket challenge million, I'd buy a FedEx truck so I could stare at the arrow in the logo that I learned from Three Man Front.
We educate here on the show.
There you go.
Inform and educate.
Josh from Huntsville, thanks for listening on the ump. He says Baker Mazzara talking crap to 19 to 20-year-olds as a 26-year-old is kind of pathetic. I totally disagree. If it's during play, no. Those guys are trying to beat him. All's fair when you're on the court.
And to be fair, he's 25, not 26.
Okay. Then Josh says, Conrad does know basketball. He was right about Steph not being top 5 and LeBron being the GOAT. All right, Josh, you're done.
Somebody that knows ball right there.
Yeah. Josh taking time out of his high school
I'm sure
civics
y'all were
class
up
to
late
chime in.
watching the Bucks and Thunder just like I was the other night. I know y'all were tuned in.
Gross. Jerry from Hayden, I have the perfect challenge for Conrad. Conrad returns to the cave 2025. It's all good now because they have tours.
Is the tour like
Sims
this is
Cave.
where Conrad got
They
trapped
really
in the
have-
cave?
I know it got shut down right after my accident, so I'm glad to know that they've reopened it. They had to go and tape it off.
Jeff in Montgomery listening on Jock 740. With that speed, Jalen Milroe going to make a decent running back.
Will he hold on to the ball?
Sure, Bill O'Brien greatly appreciated that text message.
All right, we'll get to more of your text messages and your calls. Next hour, we will talk to Blake Lovell from Southeastern 16. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5. Welcome back. It's Three Man Front on this Wednesday. Next hour, we will talk to our good friend from Southeastern 16, Blake Lovell, get his thoughts on the bracket. Certified arborist, you know how important that is when you have someone come out to your home and take a look at your situation, whether you've got some limbs that need trimming, you need whole trees that need to be taken out. How about that stump grinded out? Yep, that's right. Certified arborist right there at Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4018. So many of you have taken advantage of calling Golston Tree Service. Not only do they have the 24-hour emergency storm work phone number that I just gave you, that they can, no matter what time of the day it is, if you've got a problem, they can come out and they'll take care of it. They can handle the biggest jobs or the smallest jobs. Golston Tree Service, that certified arborist, runs the company, been around for over 35 years, handling the most challenging situations that you might have being a homeowner. So give them a call today, 205-337-4018. That is Golston Tree Service.
We continue here on Three Man Front. The phone lines are open, 800-239-WJOX. Let's go to our friend who is somewhere abroad. Don, hello.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
We're doing great, Don. How are you?
The question is, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm great. Pat, I actually had good luck last night. I went 4 out of 5, but I tell you what, the finish of that Alabama State game got me. I didn't win the game, but I did have Alabama State in the second half, minus 2.5 in the second half that won. But North Carolina won me 3 tickets last night, Pat.
Oh, very nice, sweet.
And everything, but I did get Brian Edwards picks and everything, and I was looking at that Yale game. And that's what I wanted to talk to y'all about. What y'all think about that Yale A&M game?
Slugfest. 2 teams that I think Yale's the better shooting team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they shot the lights out against us last year and everything. And did I hear him right saying that some of those guys that were shooting the threes are back?
You got that right.
Yep,
they sure are.
Can't pronounce their names, but
Pat, and I've already made my bets for tonight. I got UAB +5.
Okay.
I got American minus 1.5 in the first half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
and
you said first half?
First half, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Down here, they let you bet each half with over, under, in the game and everything. And in Landrum, on the stuff that you like, their kiosk is you can do the prop bet. So.
Oh, he loves the prop bets.
Oh, I love a good prop bet.
Yeah, matter of fact, next hour, Don, if you're listening on the Jocks 94.5 app, Molly's got a bunch of prop bets for the NCAA tournament she's going to share with us. It's good stuff.
Oh, fantastic. But hey, real quickly, guys, because I'm going to hit. I know PG's done warned me. I know y'all are up to something, but I already told Conrad, no Auburn or Alabama cheerleading outfit, okay? Because all of us guys don't want to look at those feet either, okay?
All right, Conrad, cancel the male cheerleader that you had coming up next week.
Yep.
Hope I can still return it. Get a refund.
Sebastian's going to be so disappointed.
I'll keep it for Paige.
More Three-Man Front.
It is hour number 3, three-man front, Jocks 94.5, the UMP radio station up in Huntsville, Alabama, Jocks 740 in the capital city of Montgomery. Thanks for tuning us in on this Wednesday. Reminder, we will be live from Twin Peaks in Hoover, Alabama, tomorrow and Friday for the first 2 days of the NCAA basketball tournament. Join me, Landrum, Molly. We will be at Twin Peaks tomorrow. Landrum and I will be back on Friday, so come on by and see us there at Twin Peaks in Hoover.
Yeah, and coming up tonight, you got UAB first round of the NIT as they take on St. Joe's. You can hear the game right there on Jocks 2, 100.5 with the pregame beginning at 5:30. Voice of the Blazers, David Crane, and also Pat Smith. They're on the broadcast. But if you want to go and watch it, great place to watch basketball. It's the Finnick. It's Rambler Sports Bar and Grill at the Finnick near Railroad Park. Tell you about the 283-inch projector screen, the state-of-the-art sound system that they put in there, over 28 video boards and screens to choose from. They're going to have all of that action, but also during the tournament, they have all kinds of specials that they're running. How about this? Half off apps and drinks during tournament play. $12 flatbreads, $10 beer buckets, $10 pitchers. It's Rambler Sports Bar and Grill. It's going to be unlike any sports bar viewing experience you've ever had. Rambler Sports Bar and Grill, 1630 2nd Avenue South. Check them out. Make sure you tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
Well, if you remember a couple of shows before the Super Bowl, Molly had a bunch of really cool prop bets that was available through betonline.ag. And I understand, Molly, that they have not disappointed. They've got some interesting ones before the main tournament starts tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, we've got some good ones. I love a good prop bet. So let's start. Conrad, you'll like this one. Will Drake pick Drake to win the national championship?
Hopefully so, because that means every other team's going to avoid the curse.
Well, yes is 25-1 odds. No is not an option.
He is a big gambler, so
He is.
Would he do that just because of his name?
yes, he
He might.
100%. I
You'd
mean,
be a big gambler if you had his money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he regularly will go and gamble millions of dollars in a single night.
Oh, yeah.
That's his thing.
Who will Donald Trump pick to win? President Donald Trump. Will he pick Florida, St. John's, Alabama, Auburn, Texas Tech, Houston, Duke, Tennessee, Kentucky, Michigan State? There's a lot. Wisconsin and Iowa State. Of those, who do you think has the best odds that he'll pick?
I think he's got somebody in his ear. I think he's going to pick Auburn.
What, because of Tuberville?
No Bongino.
That's right. That's right.
I did not realize that. Dan Bongino?
Him and Bruce Pearl are
Our
really good
best
friends.
Really?
Yes.
Yes, very good friends. Yep.
This podcast is very interesting.
I think Auburn's a smart play there.
Okay.
I think you're right.
That's a good pull by you, Conrad.
The more you know.
And never expected that coming with anything
Well, I'll tell you,
about Auburn that's true.
Auburn has the fourth best odds. They're sitting at 4-1. The best odds is actually Florida. 3-2 odds.
Take the easy way out, Don. Come on, man.
Which seed will President Donald Trump pick to win? Well, 1 is minus 200. 2, 2-1. 3, plus 425, or 4, 14-1 odds. 5 or higher, 22-1. When will the last perfect bracket be busted?
Oh, this is a good one.
Round of 64, round of 32, Sweet 16, Elite 8. Well, right now, round of 64 has minus 500. Round of 32 has 3-1 odds. Sweet 16, 12-1. Elite 8, 100-1. Final Four, 200-1. And not busted, 1,000-1.
Oh,
I'm going round of 32, 3-1.
What's the farthest you've ever gone on one of your brackets being perfect? Have you ever gotten to the
First day.
perfect through the first
Well,
day?
first day and a half. Yeah, and then I think I missed 2 late
Yeah.
on that second day.
Yep.
Same.
I won the bracket that year.
Yep. Never made it longer than the first day.
No.
But man,
Well,
if you start 16-0 or
to the-
8-0 on that
to
first
the round
day,
of 32 perfect.
that's a rush. That is like the best feeling in the world of having that perfect bracket after the first day, and then you know it's all going to go to crap. But it's fun while it lasts.
Yeah. All right, well, we have some cross-league props. Conrad, you can probably actually help us with these. Will the Houston Cougars and the Houston Rockets win both championships in 2025?
No.
Well, yes is 500 to 1. Will Michigan State and the Detroit Pistons win both?
No, definitely not. Pistons are better, though.
They are better this year.
Pistons are better.
That's 2,500 to 1. And will St. John's and the Knicks win both championships?
That's the best one.
That's
Is that
700
is that
to
the best
1.
odds?
That would be the smart play because St. John's we know is very good and the Knicks are
Yeah.
quite good, actually.
That's 700 to 1.
okay.
So not the best odds, but
If you're going to play any of those, that'd be the one.
now these are my favorite prop bets. These are mascot props. Which mascot will advance the farthest? Bulldogs or Tigers? So keep in mind, Bulldogs, you got Gonzaga, Drake, Georgia, Mississippi
Yeah.
State, Yale, Bryant. And then Tigers, you have Auburn, Clemson, Memphis, and Missouri.
I go Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be.
Tigers.
Minus 1,000. Bulldogs is plus 550. Now for this group, which mascot will advance the farthest? Will it be Wildcats or Cougars? Wildcats, you have Arizona and Kentucky. Cougars, you have BYU, Houston,
Cougars.
and SIU.
Everyone likes a good cougar.
Well, that's minus 250.
Zach Wilson.
But yeah. Wildcats is plus 170.
Ashton Kutcher.
There's some value there on Wildcats, though, if you
I
want to
think
be a
there
little
is.
bold.
Yeah.
Pick Houston to drop out early, maybe.
Madonna's current boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Who?
Yeah, I don't know that either.
Cougar.
Oh, okay.
She dates younger men.
Gotcha.
Well,
Much
now for the next grouping of mascots, you have Spartans, Aggies, Eagles, and Rams. So Spartans, you have Michigan State and Norfolk State. You have Utah State and Texas A&M for the Aggies. For the Eagles, you have American and Marquette. And then for the Rams, you have VCU and Colorado State.
Eagles.
Plus 1,400.
Spartans.
Yeah.
Spartans.
That's
Spots
minus
are like
250.
Hoya.
Patrick, do you like gladiator movies?
Turkish prison.
Well, I have some SEC props.
Now we're talking.
I know you guys have been waiting for these. Which conference will have the best winning percentage? The SEC, the Big 10, or the Big 12?
Oh, come on, Molly.
Well, the SEC is plus 125, the Big 10 plus 160, the Big 12 plus 165.
See, does it hurt you to
Yeah,
have more
teams?
teams? Because then you have more chances to lose.
I would probably bet Big Ten
Thanks.
because they've got 8 teams in, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
compared
I don't.
to-
Yeah, the SEC, that's risky.
Will there be an all SEC Final Four?
God, that would be awesome.
It would be
That'd be
awesome, but I'll say
awesome.
no.
No isn't an option, but yes is plus 2,500.
I'm gonna do. I'm gonna.
You're going to take that?
I'm gonna.
You're going all in? 2,500?
Yes.
How many SEC teams will reach the Final Four? Over, under? Anybody want to take a guess?
Is it 1.5?
That's right. Good job.
Over.
Yeah,
I'll
I'd take
say
the over.
over.
I'd go 2.
How many SEC teams will advance to the round of 32?
Ooh.
12. I don't.
Is
I
it?
don't know. I don't have it in front of
No,
me.
I don't have it in front of me, so I'm just
break
gonna-
down the.
Do they have an over/under for that one too?
Uh-huh. Over,
10,
under.
10 and 14.
Yeah, 8.5.
8.5.
9.5.
Oh, okay.
NCAA tournament wins by the SEC over under.
18.
Total wins.
Mhm.
Yeah, 18 seems 17, 18. That seems like a good number.
What she said.
20.5.
Well, okay.
I like this one.
Confident.
They really are.
Tournament wins by the ACC.
3.5.
Well, here's the good news. They got one last night.
They
Yeah.
did.
Oh, that's true. I guess that does count.
They're gonna get one against Ole Miss
No, I bet it's
if you're playing chalk.
like 7.5.
It's according to the line.
Close. 6.5. All right, now Big
You're
12.
really banking on Duke
So
on
they
that
said
one.
the SEC's got 20.5.
and the ACC is 6.5.
What a joke.
Okay, now the Big 12.
What are you good at, ACC?
Big
Lacrosse.
12, 13.5.
Yeah, I will say 12.5, 13.5.
11.5.
Okay.
Big East.
8.5.
Oh, yeah.
5.5. The Big 10.
7.5.
11.5.
I'm going to go 13.5.
Conrad got it. 11.5. And the Mountain West. Everyone's favorite basketball conference.
Yeah.
1.5.
1.5.
It's actually 2.5.
Oh, wow. Okay. Everyone, we really need Colorado State to help us out here.
All right, now we got some seeding props. So will a play-in team advance to the Sweet 16?
Well, this morning, a lot of people are now thinking that, yeah, maybe so, but
I would say no. Yeah.
So no is minus 200. Yes is plus 150.
Okay, well, if you're a UNC fan, there's some good value there.
Now it's how many seeded upsets will happen in the round of 64? So the total number of 9 to 16 seeds to advance. Over under.
4.5.
This is really tough.
See, they have it at 10.5.
That many upsets?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
So that's a total of what, 28? 9 to 16 teams. 9 to 16 seeds. That would be...
That's 28 possibilities.
28 possibilities, and they're saying 10.5?
Yeah, 10.5.
Whew.
That's a lot.
I'd go under.
Will a 14, 15, or 16 seed win a game in the round of 64? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes is plus 100.
One team will Yale.
How many double-digit seeds will reach the Sweet 16? Over under.
Double digits. 3.5.
I go 5.5.
3.5.
See, it's 1.5. I know. That surprised me too.
But they have all those upsets. So all these upsets are going to happen in the first round, and then those teams
Then they
are
won't
all,
make
they're all
it.
going to go away.
are all
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
What will be the highest seed to reach the Sweet 16? Over under.
So they're asking for the particular seed?
For the seed, yes.
I'd probably set it at what, 9.5? 10.5 in terms of the seed?
The highest seed to reach the Sweet 16?
Mhm.
I say a 12.
11.
Pat got it. Good job. 12. What will be the highest seed to reach the Final Four?
2.
Oh God, that's a difficult.
Did I
one.
see this right? That no number 5 seed has ever won the national championship?
That's
Correct.
correct. Yeah.
Correct.
So it won't be 5.
So that eliminates
So give me the 5s that will not win the national
Michigan,
championship.
Oregon,
Dang.
Clemson, and Memphis.
Speaking of that, let me interrupt you just
No,
for
you're
one
good.
second.
You're
This is
good.
not a breaking news story, but I saw Dick Vitale's bracket.
Okay.
He's got Michigan defeating Auburn in the Sweet 16.
Wow.
Okay. He has
course.
Duke winning it all, doesn't he?
Didn't he coach at Detroit Mercy?
He did.
Mm-hmm. That's my school.
Back in their heyday.
He's got Duke defeating Alabama in the Elite 8 in the other bracket.
Of course he does. It's Duke.
He's got Houston defeating Tennessee
Yeah.
in the Elite 8.
Okay.
Show your SEC bias, Dick.
In the West, he's got Florida defeating
Vitale.
St. John's in the Elite 8. So the Final Four, he's got Florida defeating Michigan State, Duke defeating Houston, and Duke wins the national championship by beating Florida.
Yes,
Auburn?
that is Dick Vitale's perfect scenario.
So he's got Auburn losing in the Sweet 16 to Michigan.
I had them losing in the round of 32, so I thought that was. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
All right. Well, over under for the highest seed to reach the Final Four. Surprisingly, it's 5.5.
Michigan's going to lose to San Diego. So
All right, here we go. Which number 1 seed will advance the farthest? Duke, Florida, Auburn, Houston.
Florida.
Florida's plus 200.
I'll go Florida right now.
Yeah.
Duke plus 100, Florida 200, Auburn 300, Houston 350. 2 seed will advance the farthest. So Michigan State, Tennessee, St. John's, or Alabama.
Right now, I would go.
I go St. John's.
They have the 3rd best odds. Alabama has the 4th best
They're in
odds.
they're in the Florida
Out of the 2
side
seeds,
though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Michigan State has the best odds at 175. Then Tennessee at plus 200. Actually, Tennessee and St. John's are tied at plus 200. Alabama plus 300.
I'm going to put that on a shirt. Underdogs, baby. Us against the world.
Which number 1 seed will be eliminated first?
I would put money on Duke, honestly.
See, they have the worst odds at plus 400.
Oh, I'm sure
I would
they
say
do.
Houston is
Yeah,
the
at plus
best
125. Next, though, is Auburn at plus 150.
No surprise.
I got Duke losing to Arizona in my bracket.
Let's see. Oh, how many number 1 seeds will reach the Final Four?
2.
3.
2 has the best odds at plus 175.
Oh, by the way, Andy Katz on his bracket, he's got Auburn winning the national championship.
Okay.
Okay. Will both teams in the national championship game be number 1 seeds? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, plus 200. No, minus 300. Let's see.
These prop bets are as difficult as the bracket.
It's making my head hurt.
Okay, so these are some props for the round of 64 only. Largest margin of victory, over under how many points?
32.
That's 27.5.
33.
38.5.
Oh, wow.
Ooh. Well, yeah, that's going to be Auburn. That's a good thing for Auburn.
Landrum looks upset.
I understand what you're saying. It would be much easier if we were talking about St. Francis as a potential opponent.
Then Alabama State.
You continually.
I don't know what your problem is with the Hornets.
I
have no idea.
either.
You dogged them this morning during the Conrad Van Order show.
It was a big win.
I'm saying this as a friend, not even a coworker. You need to calm down the hate.
All right, most combined points
You're
in
allergic
a
to
single
Hornets.
game.
That's why.
I am.
Yes.
I say 175.
Most combined points?
Yeah, sorry, I was still mad about last night.
No, I know. Yeah.
In a game? Any game?
Yeah.
Any game.
Well, no, remember, this is for the round of 64.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Kentucky and Troy is a high scoring game.
Okay.
Yeah, 180, 175.
Like 100 to 87.
They have it at 187.
Whoa!
Really?
Good job, Landrum. Okay, fewest combined points.
Texas A&M and Yale. And that one ends up 49-47. So that would be 96 points.
I'm going to say 128.
Say 112.
They have 109.
I guarantee they're thinking about that Texas A&M and Yale
No,
game
you're probably right.
Okay, remember, this is for the first round.
with those Wilson basketballs.
Most points scored by a single team.
106.
104.
110.
They have it at 99. 99 and a half. Yeah.
Alabama.
They haven't watched Florida and Alabama, have they?
See, that's what I thought too. All right, fewest points. I'd give this one to Michigan. Okay.
Fewest
54.
points. 51.
Don't tell me it's in the 40s.
It is in the 40s, isn't
It's
it?
45 and a half.
Good
Ugh.
night.
Hope
That'll
I'm
be
not
the
watching that
That
one.
might be the Tennessee game.
Yeah, maybe so.
We get those occasionally from them.
All right, let's do two more.
All right.
Most points scored by a single player.
Most points by a single player.
34.
I go 36.
I think he gets him tonight. I think it's Texas's
Trey Johnson.
Trey Johnson. 33.
35 and a half.
Okay. We were right there.
Okay, one more. Total game-winning buzzer beater shots.
Oh, that's a great one.
And it's not an over-under. It's just how many. Like, there's a prop for each number.
In the first round or the whole thing?
This is the first round.
First round buzzer beaters.
3.
4.
3 at 22-1 odds, 4 at 25-1. The best odds are, 0 at minus 300, but then 1 at 5-2.
Wait a minute.
You're going to get at least
Technically,
one.
we did. Well, it wasn't a buzzer beater.
No, it was close.
And do they count that as the first round?
All good questions.
Yeah, all good questions.
Go under the hood.
We're going to
find
get
out.
at least one, right?
I think we're going to get at least
At
one.
least one.
So, yeah, those are my NCAA tournament odds.
It would work out, though, with the first game we got with Alabama State and winning that game and the way that they did, that the rest of the tournament just plays out and it's anticlimactic.
I hope
Like
that's not the
runaways at
case, but
halftime.
Yeah.
Thanks, Molly.
Thank you.
About to
Coming up-
fire in.
Yeah. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll talk to Blake Lovell from Southeastern 16. We'll ask him about his bracket, what it looks like for the SEC. Texas is in battle tonight against Xavier. UAB, don't forget, NIT tonight over on Jocks 2 100.5, 5:30 pregame, 6 o'clock tip against St. Joseph's in Philadelphia. This is Three-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. It's 12:24, Jocks 94.5. Hope you enjoyed all the potential props that are out there right now. Many of you are still putting the finishing touches on your brackets. Have you finished your two?
I have not even started my two.
Okay.
My three. Or my two, wife's one.
Well, we need to finish up our brackets because Molly needs the data because she's going to put out a cool bracket on our Final Four picks. So,
can I just give her Final Four?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah.
But I figured you needed to.
No, because remember the tip that I gave you from the Davidson professor. Start with Final Four, work your way back.
Work your way back. Okay.
See, I think for the bracket pool, you should only
have given
enter a
that out.
Final Four. just for fun.
No.
Just only put those 4 teams in.
Oh.
Just, take $10 off your hands,
Yeah, go for it.
Well, we do want to remind you that Wallace State baseball is continuing conference play this week with a 4-game series against Chattahoochee Valley. They're going to play 2 games on the road tomorrow before returning home to host the final 2 up in Hansville this Saturday. Meanwhile, Wallace men's basketball begins play this Sunday in the NCAA National Tournament up in Hutchinson, Kansas, and they will face off against Frank Phillips College. For more information on the Wallace State Lions, go visit them online at athletics.wallacestate.edu.
So we're all anticipating it's going to be a 2-person race for the National Player of the Year in college basketball. It's either going to be Cooper Flagg at Duke. It's going to be Janai Broome at Auburn. Obviously, we're biased, but we believe that at the end of the day, the nation will see that the SEC, the toughest conference in America, that Janai Broome will be the winner of that award. Well, today I mentioned that another All-American team was released, and Mark Sears was on that list. And because of what makes up a consensus All-American, Mark Sears has been named to every team, which now means that he becomes the first ever consensus All-American basketball player in the history of the University of Alabama. So that's pretty.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Good for him.
Pretty incredible deal. Now, if Janai Broome wins the National Player of the Year award, he will become the first Auburn basketball player in Auburn history to win the National Player of the Year.
Very cool.
So once again, just an incredible year for SEC basketball and an incredible year for Alabama and Auburn.
We got to finish though, right?
Sure.
We have to finish SEC, and that's not just Auburn and Alabama. The worst thing that would happen is have the success that the SEC had, get a record number 14 teams in, and then all of a sudden just lay a big stinker.
Oh, if we have 3 or 4 teams in the Sweet 16, I'm going to be disappointed.
Don't you think it starts tonight if Xavier knocks off Texas?
Yeah.
Then you're going to start hearing that drum beat a little bit slow.
Why were we talking about North Carolina? Texas was the phony the whole time.
Yes.
Yep, 100%.
Indiana should have been in. West Virginia should have been in with no coach. They could coach themselves, which I saw, I think, immediately as soon as he announced that he was leaving, I think, like the transfer portal. I mean,
his
whole
kid
roster
his kid's going with him, and his kid averaged like 15 points a game this year before he got hurt. So, yeah, one of their best players already going with Daddy.
Yeah, and they actually, the recruiting, they had a couple of 4-stars, I believe, that had committed, and they have already asked for to be out of their letter of intent at West Virginia to go, obviously, to Indiana.
Pat McAfee's got to open up that checkbook, I guess.
Buddy of mine, he just sent me this. Apparently, he's in Biloxi now, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess everybody's in Biloxi
Apparently
right now.
So.
He just sent me this ticket, and he's got, for his Final Four, Texas A&M, St. John's, Alabama, and Houston. Ticket costs $25, and it would pay out $9,441.
And he just has to hit those 4 Final Four. I mean, that's difficult, but that's a payday.
Mm-hmm.
How much money did Don tell you off the air that he has already spent?
I think it was about 16,000.
Oh, and he chimed in. He's listening on the app in Biloxi. Thank you.
Ask him if he sees Don over there playing the penny slots. He's actually texting him that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it would be funny if they could have a 3-man front.
He'll be near a showgirl
reunion.
No, the showgirl will be around Don.
Of course.
Do they have showgirls in Biloxi?
I was just thinking that. I don't know.
I mean, I
went
don't,
with the
I
most
don't know.
cliche thing I could.
Yeah.
Showgirl. Like they just parade around the casino floor
with their flamingo.
I mean, you could get that out in Vegas, but
yeah,
maybe not a showgirl.
Possibly not.
Maybe another time.
Geisha girl, maybe.
A working girl.
Blake Lovell's going to join us next. Southeastern 16 here on Jocks 94.5. We'll check in with Blake Lovell from Southeastern 16 momentarily. You need to check out Courtesy GMC in Trussville. Go by and see them off of I-459, exit 32 in Trussville. Right there, you can see it from the interstate. They have an incredible inventory every single day. There's new trucks coming in with the very best from GMC products, including the 2025 GMC Yukon and the Yukon XLs. How about $5,000 off MSRP on this incredible vehicle? Courtesy just had another truckload come in, but they're going to be going fast, so you need to get out to Courtesy GMC and check those out. How about the Sierra SLT trucks? Now up to $13,000 off MSRP and up to $7,750 off the MSRP on the Sierra HDs in stock. They have the SLTs, AT4s, and the Denali's in stock. February was a record month. March is heading that way as well because you are taking advantage of the best deals anywhere. Don't drive anywhere else. Drive to Trussville. They recommend you to go to courtesybirmingham.com. Check out their inventory, their prices. You're not going to find any GMC dealer in the Southeast that is going to match what they can give you today. That's Courtesy GMC in Trussville.
Our friend, he joins us throughout the college basketball season. Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16, did a wonderful job, not only here on this show, but also on YouTube and there at Southeastern 16. He joins us, as all of our guests do, on the Higginbotham Hotline. Happy Tournament Wednesday, Blake. How are you?
Hey, guys. Doing well. Yeah, it's here, isn't it? It's 14 teams, not much going on this week at all. So.
Yeah, that's right. 14 teams. You got one of them in action tonight. Texas is part of the first four as they take on Xavier. Do you think the SEC got too many in? We're all happy that they did, but was Texas one of those that you scratched your head, or maybe in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I didn't think Texas was going to get in. Quite honestly, I think if we're doing it from the resume, I didn't think Texas had much of an argument. You could say that they won a certain amount of games in the SEC, but their non-conference was not very good. They didn't really have any significant wins. Their best non-conference win was probably St. Joe's or Syracuse, which, we're talking teams that just did not make the NCAA tournament. And if you also looked at some of their games in conference, I think people pointed this out too, like they lost some significant games at home in conference play. And I think that's always something where, all right, a team wins all their home games, loses on the road. They won some road games, but they kind of lost some games at home that maybe they shouldn't have lost too. And so I think that, probably knocks them a little bit of their overall resume. I just didn't think it was that strong. A non-conference strength of schedule I thought would get them. But they're in, and hey, now that you're in, you can try to do what North Carolina did last night and say, who cares? We're just going to go out and get up by 40 on our opponent. So.
All right, it goes without saying, Blake, that all of us believe that Florida is now the hands down, based on the way that they've played over the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season, that this could be the team that would make that magical run and win the national championship from the Southeastern Conference. What is the team that you're hitting pause on right now that maybe a couple of weeks ago you felt really good about, but now maybe a couple warts, a couple outings, whether it was in Nashville or the end of the regular season, that now has got you worried about their longevity in this tournament?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, of these top teams, I do feel pretty confident about where they're at heading into this thing, even if you had some of those lopsided results, again, whether it was against the Florida or some of those like that. But I feel pretty good about the top seeds, but I think that's where you start to look at teams that are in that middle range, like let's say a Texas A&M, a Missouri, Ole Miss. I think they're all in interesting spots heading into this tournament because we knew the committee was going to put Yale in an SEC team. That was one thing that I said was going to be a complete lock when it came to the selection. They put them with A&M, of course, based on what happened last year. And I just, I don't love A&M's profile. They're a team that cannot shoot the ball. They're a great offensive rebounding team. They're a great defensive team. But if you just make them beat you by shooting jump shots, you're in good shape, and that may be what Yale tries to do against them. I don't love A&M, and I know they could run into Auburn where they've already beaten them in the Sweet 16 and all that, but I just, to me, I think Auburn is, probably 7 or 8 or more points better than Texas A&M on a neutral court, just based on how they play. And so, maybe a little worried about them. I'll be honest, I think a lot of people are worried about Missouri in this first-round game against Drake. I'm not as much worried because I think that it's looking at Drake and being very excited about the team that has 30 wins. And, James Madison last year had 30 wins, and they went out and just took it to Wisconsin. I think this is a different matchup because I think, for Missouri, it's kind of one of those things where what they do well is what Drake doesn't do well. And I think those are the things you have to identify in the NCAA tournament. find those weaknesses and can you exploit them? I think Missouri can absolutely exploit the weaknesses of a team that's 30-3, and I get all that. But so I don't know if I feel as bad about Missouri as some people do. And then I mentioned Ole Miss. I think they're one. I was penciling Ole Miss down as like a sleeper Elite Eight team 2 days ago. And then I sat there and watched North Carolina for 40 minutes last night, and I'm like, well, I'm not sure about this anymore. So maybe you kind of change your tune a little bit on those teams, and even throwing in Mississippi State, right? These are teams that have just been inconsistent at times, and I don't think we saw that inconsistency that much from those top teams that are seeded in this tournament in the SEC. But those in the middle, yes, we've seen the good, but we've also seen the bad. So results could vary here.
As far as unfavorable, favorable, you mentioned Texas A&M and Yale as a part of that South region, but for the Auburn Tigers and heading into this tournament, did you feel like the potential matchups that they could see, whether it's Creighton or Louisville in round 2 or even beyond there in Atlanta, anything that gives you pause on Bruce Pearl and the Tigers?
Not really, and I think it's one of the stats I put out the other day, and that was the fact that if you combine all the losses that these teams have had for the top 4 seeds, and you take, like the KenPom rate, not just KenPom, you can take any probably metric out there and say, who did you lose to, basically, is the point of the stat. And if you combine Auburn's and you average it out to see what is the average ranking of the teams they lost to, it's 6. And if you look at everybody else, Houston's 13, Alabama's 13. I think Duke, Florida, teams like that are in the 16, 17, Tennessee's in there somewhere. But like Auburn, 6. Like that's the average of the teams they've lost to this season. And it's just, I think we have to keep that in perspective as we go into this tournament and look at it from that standpoint as to say, all right, this is one where, hey, I know they've lost 3 of 4. I know it's been kind of an issue, losing these games, haven't loved the way they played and all that. And we know there's a stat out there about teams who have lost 3 of 4 coming into the tournament. It doesn't exactly end well usually for them. But I'm not hitting the panic button, just as Bruce Pearl said in Nashville last week. I don't think there is any reason to do that because I still think this is a team matchup-wise, matches up well with Louisville, Creighton, all those teams, I think, in their part of the bracket. And so I know a lot of people are talking about location and all that. Yes, it may come into play, but from a basketball perspective, I still think Auburn is easily the best team in their region, and that includes everybody else with Michigan State and those teams like that. I do like the setup for Auburn, and it's just, can they find sort of that sort of edge that they had before they wrapped up the SEC regular season title? Because after that, I haven't seen that exact same sort of mentality. If they can come out focused, get the chip back on their shoulder a little bit, I think they got a chance to come out and get to the Final Four.
So most people believe that Florida has got the toughest road to get to San Antonio. Do you agree with that? If not, who else would have that most difficult path?
Yeah, I think the reason I would say Florida has a difficult path is only because, to me, it's their second round game, where if they played UConn, I think that is probably the most worrisome thing. Beyond that, I just don't see this as a difficult path for Florida at all. And I know people are going to bring up Maryland, they're going to bring up St. John's, Texas Tech, all that. I have looked at all those teams. I just think Florida's the kind of team that, again, exploits what those teams do well. And so it really comes down to, can Florida get past UConn, right? I mean, that is really it. And it's like, I know UConn's an 8 seed for a reason, but I also know that they're 12-0 in their last 12 NCAA tournament games. And, they've beaten everybody by 13 or more points. And so it's one of those, and I specifically, more importantly, maybe, I think they've held a lot of their opponents in the 60s, something like that. So if you look at that potential matchup, until somebody beats UConn, I'm going to be a little hesitant to go all in on Florida. But, Florida, again, they got the profile team that may have the best chance to win this thing. So I don't know that I would say Florida has the toughest path. But then again, I look at this and I'm like, who does? Because I really look at it and feel like, hey, I like Tennessee's path. I like Alabama's path up till they get to Duke, and all these things. So I do overall, and let's see if these are, the famous words that come back to haunt me. I like the draw for the majority of these SEC teams that are especially in these top tier seeds. It's just a matter, again, can you sort of get the right matchup? And I do feel like these SEC teams have some pretty favorable matchups, at least when it comes to just looking at it from a stats perspective.
Hanging out with our friend Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16. He joins us, as all of our guests do, on the Higginbotham hotline. It can be from the SEC, but you watch from across college basketball. What is one of those seeds, not 1 through 4, we'll just go 5 through 12, that nobody's talking enough about, that you think have a great chance of making a decent run.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting is I think these 8, 9, 7, 10 games to me are the ones that may wind up being the ones that produce the most sort of chaos. And like I said, these 1 seeds are historically good. To have this many 1 seeds that, rank in the metrics and all this other stuff, the way that these 4 rank, we've just never seen it before. And so it's hard to necessarily knock out the ones, but it's also hard to ignore the idea that Houston could play Gonzaga, who is not an 8 seed profile. Florida could play UConn, who's the back-to-back defending national champions. Even a Mississippi State or Baylor, I think is interesting for a team like Duke, just based on kind of the streaky nature of Mississippi State and Baylor. But then you look at the 7-10s, and I think that's where things get a little interesting, especially when we look at it in the West. Kansas, at one point this season, was the number 1 team in the country, and they're not going to be a sleeper necessarily in terms of name value, but I think a lot of people have completely written off Kansas as anyone who can sort of make a run here. I'm not convinced of that, and I'm not completely sold on St. John's as being this, world beater type team, even though we've seen them look really good this year in the Big East. But I think they have some weaknesses that a team like Kansas or even Arkansas could exploit. So I would not be shocked if the winner of that game were to beat St. John's and then go on a bit of a run there, maybe to the Elite Eight, maybe to the Final Four. I don't know. I think Kansas has more upside to do that if it's all clicking, but the problem is that hasn't really been the case. If you go beyond that, I think the teams that a lot of people are going to point out that I would also kind of buy in on, I think if you're going to see the most havoc in one particular part of the bracket, it could come there in the top part of the East, where you have Oregon as the 5 against Liberty the 12, Arizona the 4, Akron the 13th. Wouldn't be shocked at all if Liberty and Akron both advanced, knocked off those 2 teams. I just think they, again, kind of have the profile of the upset type teams. And then again, I'll tell you another matchup I'd love to see, guys. Alabama, BYU. If you kind of filter how well teams are playing over the past month, BYU's been playing like the number 4 team in the country over the past month, if you look at the statistics and all that. So I'd love to see that matchup. I think it'd be a lot of fun. There's intrigue everywhere, no doubt.
For the purposes of this weekend, though, and you talked about some of those 8-9s, Louisville out of the ACC, of course, Creighton, and we know past Creighton teams, and they can be problematic. But any potential matchup hiccups if Auburn, which most people assume they will, advances past Alabama State in the first round?
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are looking at Louisville and seeing them as the big bad wolf here, and that Auburn should be in trouble. But I honestly wonder if Creighton's kind of one of those matchups too that makes it a little more interesting for Auburn, just based on their style of play. Some of their numbers are not great. We've always said it with Creighton; they're not going to force turnovers, so that's great. For Auburn, they're not going to really take care of the ball that well. They're not a great rebounding team, so I'm really selling Creighton on this team that can beat them, right? But I think it's because they're pretty steady when it comes to what they can do on both sides. And I think just from a style standpoint, I do wonder, because Creighton is a team that can shoot the ball really well. They get a lot of their points from 3. And we always say that with these kind of teams in surviving advanced settings. If you just get a team that comes out shooting the ball well, they get hot, it could be game over, right? And the thing about Louisville is, yes, they get a lot of their points from 3 too, but they don't shoot it as well. I mean, they're shooting 33%. It's not like they're shooting up there in the high 30s or anything like that. They really shoot their best percentage from 2. And, well, if you look at Auburn defensively, that's where I think if you look at them all season long, we talked about Auburn's offense, but to me, their defense is what really is going to be the key if they're going to win this national championship, is they just defend so well. And they got to do it without fouling, right? And I think that is something that you look at for Auburn. That's going to be a story here. Can they get through this tournament without getting in a lot of foul trouble? Because Louisville gets there, a bit more than Creighton does. And I know, again, it may match up wise seem that way. But I don't know, guys. Maybe it's just the ACC, and I'm just sitting here saying I want to see more from Louisville. I know they've only lost 2 games since they lost to Kentucky in mid-December, but I also look at the teams they beat, and I'm just not completely sold that they're just going to run through this thing and be the worst matchup for Auburn. But, hey, it's the tournament, and we'll see how it plays out.
All right, it's a 2-part question. How many SEC teams get in the Final Four, and who's your national champion?
Yeah, I'll go with 2 teams getting there. I'm not going to lie. When I initially filled out my bracket on Monday, I had basically the SEC semifinals in my Final Four.
I think all of us had that, Blake.
4 teams. Yeah, that was my initial part. But the more I looked at it, I was just like, I'm not sure about that. I mean, look, I said 2, but I'll be honest. The team that I think I have the toughest time getting there of those 4 teams that got to the SEC tournament semifinals, is maybe Alabama, because I think having to go through Duke and that red-hot BYU team, and also Grant Nelson's health, right? I mean, I think that's something, too, that we have to factor in with Alabama. But it sounds like, things are going to be okay, and that's fine. But I'm a little more sold on Tennessee than some people are. So I've got Florida going to the national championship against Duke. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's not going to be something the SEC fans want to hear, but I just think Duke has the easiest path up to Alabama of any other one seed. And so I think by doing that, taking them all away, if Cooper Flag's healthy, it's hard to pick against Duke, in my opinion.
Oh, I know.
I know.
You're speaking your heart, and I appreciate it, but man, that would just be so disappointing.
I know.
That Duke team from that ACC this year, and then what the SEC did, and if they're cutting down the nets in San Antonio. Ugh. Gross.
I know. I don't want to see it, but I think Florida's the team playing the best right now. I just think they have a tricky second-round matchup against UConn, and I think there are potential pitfalls for some of the other SEC teams. But, honestly, I may take the Alabama-Duke winner. If that's the matchup we get in the Elite Eight, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm like, hey, there's your national champion maybe. But I just, I would like to take Auburn to that spot. But, guys, it's just if they weren't on the same side of the bracket as Florida, I could do it easier. But this looks like the Florida team that won back-to-back national championships to me.
Yep.
They're just steamrolling through everybody to end the season, and it's hard to ignore that.
I think right now, and based on what you just said, the team most likely to beat Florida is Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. And really, I mean, we haven't really seen them do that a whole lot this season. And I think that's kind of the thing with them is if you look at Florida, I mean, they're 30-4, right? And they've had some of these losses, but like they lost to Kentucky by 6 where they scored 100. They lost at home to Missouri by a single point, after basically Missouri just got hot for the first 6 or 7 minutes of the game, and it was all Florida from there. The Georgia game, how many times is this Florida team going to get down 26 in the first? You could play that thing out 100 times. That was probably one of the only 100 times where Florida would be down 26 in the first half. Complete outliers. Everything else has been pretty consistent. So it's just, it's hard not to pick them with the way they're playing.
Blake, always appreciate it. Thank you so much. This was great, and we'll talk to you very soon. Enjoy tonight, and then enjoy as we tip off tomorrow and begin the official start of the NCAA basketball tournament. We appreciate you, man.
Thanks, guys.
Blake Lovell joining us here on Three Man Front. More to come here on this Wednesday on Jocks 94.5.
12:55, Jocks 94.5. Always appreciate Blake Level, his breakdown. You can watch the breakdown on YouTube. That is Southeastern 16. Blake Level joined us on the Higginbotham Hotline throughout the college football and basketball season.
Well, you still have an opportunity to enter our $1 million bracket challenge here at Jocks 94.5. You pick a perfect bracket, you're going to walk away with $1 million. If you pick 60 or more games correctly, you're going to win $10,000. And one local winner with the best bracket entry is going to score a $250 gift card to our friends over there at Twin Peaks. For more information and to make your picks, again, you have to have these picks in by 11 a.m. tomorrow when the games first start tipping off. Go online to jocksfm.com, click on the $1 million bracket tab, put your entries in, and you are good to go. Good luck from all of us here at Jocks 94.5.
So John Calipari, he is always good for a soundbite. We'll try to get this sound, but I'm just reading a transcript of what he said.
This is the tournament that he cares about, right?
That is correct.
That he likes playing in.
Yes. The SEC tournament cares nothing about.
Right.
He just joked with the media saying someone must have been sick or went to the bathroom on the NCAA selection committee by not putting Arkansas in Lexington for the NCAA tournament.
Interesting.
I think the attendance there in Lexington will be just fine without John Calipari there.
Yep. Between Louisville and then the report that Kentucky fans have been buying up tickets just in case Louisville meets Auburn, and Kentucky fans planning on pulling for Auburn in the SEC, kind of evens things out a little bit.
So one of the media people for Arkansas that's there covering the team, his name's Anthony Christensen. He had this exchange with Coach Cal this morning. Coach Cal said to me, "Did you get a haircut?" I responded by saying, "I did, yes. Does it look good?" Coach Cal said, "No, your haircut does not look good." Just a great interaction there with Coach Cal and the Arkansas media.
There's so much there.
Maybe that's a running joke. I don't know.
Do they have a good relationship?
I would hope so.
Yeah, if you're talking about his haircut.
I would hope so.
1 o'clock here on a tournament Wednesday, whether it's the NIT or the NCAA basketball tournament continuing tonight from Dayton as a part of the First Four. We got Alabama State punching their ticket in dramatic fashion last night versus St. Francis. Almost a buzzer beater, Conrad. Now Alabama State, they advance. They'll take on Auburn in Lexington coming up tomorrow, and you'll be able to hear that game right here on Jocks 94.5. We'll have all kinds of tournament action. We'll get into some of the slate of games that you can expect to hear on our airwaves as we're going to have the wall-to-wall coverage. And then coming up tomorrow, we're going to be live at Twin Peaks in Hoover, not only tomorrow, but also on Fridays. So make sure you drop by. It's always a fun time. Plenty of TVs to watch the action. And we will be reacting just like you to some people smiling because their brackets look good so far. And then, like we had a coworker just a couple of years ago, think they went big on, it might have been Colorado State. That was that big pick just a couple of years ago from our friend Matt McLaren. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to go and gamble it all away there in your first run with a 12 seed making it to the Final Four, unless you feel really confident about it.
Yeah, I think that I think you're actually spot on that it was Colorado State.
Everybody was talking about Colorado State heading into the tournament.
And as we learned earlier today, Mountain West teams not the best track record here in the NCAA tournament.
What was it was 11 wins and 40-something losses as a conference.
11-45.
11-45.
Ooh.
That is a hard stat to ignore.
Since 2001.
Not great.
You get Memphis and Colorado State in that 5-12 matchup. I kind of like Memphis. I thought Memphis, they showed me something against UAB in the title game of the American.
Yeah, especially with their point guard out.
Yeah.
And then Haggerty had to do more of running the show as opposed to be a shooting guard. So,
but I think you're going to see a lot of people that, again, you're going to look at some of these lines and you're going to go, man, a 12 seed is favored in Vegas over a 5 seed, and people are just going to flock to that upside pick because of the line of, I believe, still -2.5 for Colorado State.
Very much so. Let's take you back to last night in Dayton, Ohio. Would we be as fortunate tonight as to get another great finish like we did in game 1 last night between Alabama State and St. Francis?
Seconds left, and here we go. This is where dreams are made. Golf for it all. Simpson, home run play, the deflection. Oh! Layup! 0.7 seconds left. Alabama State in front.
Amar Knox. He's the one that
or
put
Canucks.
It in, or Canucks, depending on where you're from.
Right.
Alabama State used a 6-0 run with the under 4 timeout to put themselves in a position to get them an opportunity. I felt bad because the head coach's son had an opportunity to ice the game for Alabama State, missed. But because of the propensity that Alabama State has of turning the ball over against their opposition, they were able to force a turnover and set up that long pass inbound in which they were able to put it home and get the win. And for the first time ever, they will advance.
And for that baseball pass to connect when everybody's expecting it, it's not like they caught the defense sleeping and you had numbers down there. But
it was just like almost like literally a Hail Mary in football.
Yeah.
Because you know what's coming. And it's
all
just,
that congestion in the lane,
mm-hmm.
Ball gets tipped out and somehow finds itself in the hands of an Alabama State player. And then he has to navigate a St. Francis player, but he puts it up and in, and then there was what? How many seconds left?
I think 1.
It was 0.7.
I think they gave him
they
1.
added some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely saw some 4th and 31 memes last night, kind of comparing.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. But no, to be able to pull that off when everybody knows exactly what's going to happen.
That's not what I thought. I was saying that tongue in cheek.
Well, Coach Madlock, he used to be an assistant coach under Tony Barbie there at Auburn. He had this to say about his team's prep going into that final play.
Game day, we always spend probably about 10 to 12 minutes on situational stuff. And we had a couple guys throwing the pass, and it just wasn't very consistent. And then once we got Michael Sims, we call him Deuce, he started throwing it, and it's been going pretty good. So that's what happened. So he became the guy that throws that pass on that play.
So America is just falling in love with the Hornets Unfortunately for the Hornets, they got to play the number 1 overall seed now, the Auburn Tigers. So a campus that's 54 miles away from Auburn, they get to travel to Lexington, Kentucky. They jumped on a bus last night, about 2.5 hours from Dayton, Ohio to Lexington, Kentucky. So now they will
What a nice ride.
get an opportunity to play the Auburn Tigers. Auburn is 6-0 lifetime against the Hornets.
Text line is open, 205-834-9450. We will get to your text. Always love your interaction. Our buddy Glenn texting in the show, and he says, when are we going to see the 3-man front horse contest?
Oh, like the basketball version?
Walking horses. Tennessee walking horses.
I was confused for a second.
I don't know.
That'd be fun.
We got the Papa Shot goal. The hot shot goals there in the back. Saw that somebody used them as a prop in one of their videos. Glad they're getting used.
Yeah.
I don't know, Glenn, if we're going to have a horse contest.
We should. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
That would actually, I would like us to do some sort of challenge or competition that I can actually enjoy at some point. That would be.
At one point I was going to have you guys out last summer.
Oh, sure.
What? I was.
Yeah.
We were going to hit some baseballs in the backyard off my pitching machine.
Oh, you have a pitching machine at your house?
I
definitely, we got to do that.
I definitely do.
That would be fun.
It only goes up to 55 miles an hour.
Oh, that's too fast.
That's how he gives the Gators their medicine.
It's a 1-wheel. It's not a 2-wheel.
It's not okay.
Because 2-wheel, you throw breaking balls.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. I would love that.
You get the one with the really waterlogged wet baseball when you were little, and it would come off sideways.
Yep.
Ear hole you. Thought you had to be tough.
Yeah, I want to have you guys out. We could take some BP in the backyard.
That'd be great.
That would be a lot of fun.
It'd be awesome to be invited to your house, and we don't have to work.
No, man, we'll see. Part of my fence came down during the storm, so.
And
He needs some help.
Knew there was a catch. Young Bull texting in. Thanks, Young Bull. He says, what's the deal with no socks? No one cares at the beach. It's okay, Conrad. I wear Crocs without socks.
Yeah.
No, it's fine, but.
Did Paige know about your fetish about no socks when she met you?
No, but she learned very quickly.
Did she? And she stayed with you?
She did.
That's amazing.
I just like sandals.
But you don't wear sandals.
You don't wear sandals.
Well,
it's Crocs,
They're
but
like space shoes.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, those are different. Well, today I'm just wearing sandals.
You're
Flip
wearing
flops.
slides? What are you wearing?
Yeah, slides.
Get you a pair of Roman sandals. And
Are
tie
those-
up around your shins.
You think so?
Are those the slides you wear when you take a shower at Love's or Buc-ee's?
No,
I can't
Pat,
remember
I have a
where you go.
special pair of those. Come on. The ones I wear for those are much thinner, so I can grip the floor of the shower more easily.
But they're a distinct, very bright color. So people know it's him
Yeah, it's almost like a neon yellow
when he meets him in the chat
splash
room.
of green and, you know. I'm glad someone out there gets it.
Someone's saying Conrad and the text of the show that they know nothing about basketball. LeBron isn't in the top 5 all time. I'll take Jordan. Wilt, Kareem, Bird, or Kobe over LeBron. Yes,
That's fine.
you text anytime. Michael says Bongino, by the way, Dan Bongino, Bruce Pearl's good buddy, is the new deputy FBI director.
Yep.
Forgot that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it his daughter that goes to Auburn?
I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a Molly question. She can figure it out pretty quickly. But he posted Bongino would post pictures
Before the game,
pretty
talking to Pearl.
frequently of him and Bruce Pearl at Neville on game days.
They say on Google that only one person on record from big name brackets has made it to the Sweet 16 and none further, Zach in Huntsville.
That sounds about right.
The chances of getting a perfect bracket it's like 9 quintillion.
What were you saying? There was something that...
Yeah, I think statistically you have a better chance of having 4 hole-in-ones in one round of golf than you do of having a perfect bracket.
That was it. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Cody's saying, I thought Alabama State versus St. Francis looked horrible on both sides. Neither team looked good to me. Looked like a high school game. I said yesterday Auburn would beat either team by 40. Posey says, should you be National Player of the Year if you shoot 60% from the free throw line?
I mean, I never had a problem with Shaq's free throws in the NBA. It is what it is with the big guys.
Mark saying last year Sears deserved All-American status, not this year.
He was better last year.
He's consensus now, if you're just joining us.
He's had a very good year, but yeah, he was a little better last year.
Our buddy Hastings chimes in on Coach Cal in that exchange that he had with the reporter asking about his haircut. And he says, Coach Cal, is that your kid? Coach Cal said, is that your kid? You say you, or he's saying you. Yes. Oh, you got to set this up different, Hastings. I can't do this on the fly.
No, I'd actually like to hear you try to work through this.
Coach Cal asked the question back to the report, is that your kid? Yes. She is. Isn't she a darling? And then Coach Cal says no. Golly, that was a big build up for that. Thank you, Hastings. Love you, buddy. Josh in Huntsville reminds us 86 years ago today, the very first NCAA Tournament championship game was held in Evanston, Illinois, where Oregon beat the Ohio State 46-33.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, in NCAA basketball history, today is the date in which the first time ever that the University of Texas Western, now known as UTEP, had 5 African-American starters, and they beat the University of Kentucky, 5 white starters in the NCAA championship.
Very cool.
Richard texts in, sports seasons come and go, but 3-man front chemistry and entertaining content never changes.
Well, thank you.
And the fact that I can't read.
Well, it's one of the attractions that people like to hear you struggle reading text messages.
Absolutely.
Sound it out, Landrum. Sound it out. Drake, guys, Auburn lost to Yale. Just what if they lose to Alabama State? Would Bruce Pearl's seat? No, stop, Drake. Stop.
That's not going to happen.
Stop it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. When Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If Alabama State were to do this, is this the biggest upset in the history of the NCAA basketball tournament?
Whew.
Now, Purdue was not an overall number one, correct?
No, I don't think so. And I'm trying to remember, I don't think Virginia was either.
They weren't overall number one,
correct.
But they were number one seeds.
They were ones, but not the number one overall seed.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would. Yeah. Probably would be the biggest upset.
I mean, I'm telling you, a couple of years ago when Fairleigh Dickinson did that to Purdue.
Oh, it was wild.
With flipping Zach Edey.
I mean, you could the Virginia one with the style that Virginia played under Tony Bennett, you could understand where that would come back to bite you. But the Purdue one?
Yeah, what Fairleigh Dickinson did to Purdue, and that was earth-shattering what happened there.
I saw a stat. Did you realize it's been 22 years since Rick Barnes went to a Final Four with that Texas team?
I did realize that.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of Tennessee fans realize that too.
And if they weren't aware of it, they are now.
No, I think they're very well aware of that. They're at the beginning before Tennessee kind of went. They kind of went through that little stretch mid-season. You already started seeing some people on social media and some of their websites talking about how maybe this is the time for Rick to call it a career and step down. And then the first thing that they threw up was we need to throw as much money as possible to get Nate Oates.
Yep. Allen's. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but instead we had Conrad starting rumors about Nate Oates going to North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of going to Tennessee, he was going to North Carolina.
Right. Allen says, Conrad, don't worry. Jesus didn't wear socks with his sandals either.
There you go.
He could definitely change a tire.
No, they didn't have cars back then.
Chariot.
Now that I could see him being good at. Replacing a chariot.
In addition to everything else.
Yeah, that was the joke. Yes, it's Jesus. He was good at everything. Yes, that was the joke.
Thanks for the text, even the ones that I couldn't read. And the ones that I struggled reading. Hastings, love you, man. Don't worry about the setup. We'll stick the landing next time.
When we come back on Three Man Front, we will tell you about Alabama Pro Day, including an eye-popping number that came out with Jalen Milroe. We'll tell you what it is next on Three Man Front. So Alabama's Pro Day went on in Tuscaloosa today. You saw the story last night from the NFL Network saying Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who was in town for Pro Day, he had dinner last night with Jalen Milroe. So that got a lot of tongues wagging around the NFL going, oh, okay, that's interesting. Could they, instead of going after an Aaron Rodgers, maybe they go ahead and get that first pick and 21st pick of the draft and go ahead and grab Jalen Milroe? Well, one thing's for sure, that Jalen Milroe did not disappoint in regards to him running the 40-yard dash today. The University of Alabama tweeted out a video, and they tweeted out a time of 4.37, which would be the third fastest that a quarterback has ever recorded at a pro day, only behind that of Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson. Now, Nick Kelly, friend of the program, works for AL.com. He wrote a story just a couple minutes ago, and he said that according to the AL.com stopwatch, they clocked him at 4.41 on his first run. So that was what Nick Kelly reported. The other big story is the fact of the shoes that he was wearing. Did you see that, Conrad?
New Balance.
He's wearing New Balance. Maybe if Alabama had not had the Nike contract and maybe they had New Balance, and maybe he had won the Heisman Trophy, and maybe he'd have performed better.
Where was that speed when he was trying to chase down the Vanderbilt player on the pick six?
Mm-hmm. If he had New Balance on, he'd have been able to catch him.
Sure, that's what Jordan Rodgers was thinking this morning as well.
I couldn't resist.
That's a good point. No, that was good.
And of course, Jalen Milroe, he was talking about him running today because he did not run at the combine.
Yes.
At the NFL combine.
Didn't make sense, but yes.
But he ran today. He said, a lot of people wanted me to run. I gave everybody what they wanted. My goal was to get in the 4.3s, so goal completed. And secondly, be able to show up at Pro Day.
I just wonder, was there any part of him that was like, all right, so your receivers are going to come out here and help you, Jalen, and it'll be great. You've got good chemistry with them. Well, let's put on a little show here for these scouts. It's like, man, that's great, but is there any way that Ryan Williams could maybe stay in the locker room? Because the second that he hits the field, every scout is watching him and not what Jalen Milroe is doing. But he had that. He had a good deep ball to Ryan Williams, it looked like.
Yeah, Ryan Williams and Rico Scott, those are the two wide receivers.
Horton was out there.
Yeah, that he was throwing. So I would imagine a lot of people were probably going, okay, this Ryan Williams.
What can you tell me about him, Coach? I haven't heard about him.
Yeah, let's kind of take a gander at him.
Well, he's only 17 years old.
Well, he's 18 now,
I
right?
know he is 18 now. We're done with that.
Thank goodness.
We are finally done with that.
Oh.
So he can vote now.
Yeah.
I just like how we've gone from the Ryan Williams is only 17 to now it's the Chad Baker-Mazara is 25. We've gone from
quite a difference.
One end of the spectrum to the other.
Remember Stetson Bennett? That was our favorite.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Back in the day. Good old days, right? How about Prize Picks? Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million members, billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. This is how it works. You're going to download the Prize Picks app, and you're going to pull up a really big menu. You're going to look at that, but then you're going to fill out your information if you don't already have a Prize Picks account. When you do that, sign up, promo code WJOX. Your first $5 play, win or lose, you get $50 instantly. That's right. WJOX is the promo code. First $5 play, win or lose, you're going to get $50 kickback instantly. So many of our Jocks listeners, Drake was one of the first that said, hey, I took you up on it and I actually won. You can do it. We got college basketball, plenty of it to choose from, and you just pick more or less. Tonight, we'll go to the NCAA basketball tournament, and we'll look at the Texas Longhorns, a team that many people do not believe should be in it. They're going to take on Xavier. How about this, Conrad? You got Trey Johnson of Texas. We talked about him earlier. I think he has a big, big night. More or less 19 points for Trey Johnson tonight. I'm going more.
Yeah, I'd go more as well. He averaged over 20 a game in the regular season, so yeah, more.
How about Texas's Trayvon Mark? 12.5 points, more or less.
Ooh. I might lean more for him as well because he's shown up big here for Texas. He's averaging over 15 a game over their last 5 games. I'll go more.
All right, I'm going to ride with you. We'll go more. Trayvon Mark at Texas, 12.5 points. Trey Johnson, more than 19 points. It's that easy. Prize Picks. Download the app today. Enter promo code WJOX, and you're going to get $50 back on your first $5 play. We appreciate them.
I was just trying to read a quote from Jalen Milroe.
It doesn't have to do with a zebra or a dog, right?
Close.
Uh-oh.
Jalen Milroe on his pitch to NFL teams. I'm reading this direct quote. There's a lot of things other quarterbacks, they do well that I can. But there are things that I do that they can't do. That's something I use as an advantage when I play the game of football. I'm not one-dimensional. End of quote. There's a lot of things other quarterbacks, they do well that I can. But there are things that I do that they can't do. That's something I use as an advantage when I play the game of football. I'm not one-dimensional. End of quote.
Conrad will allow you to respond.
I will just say I will not miss some of the answers that he gives to the media about things. He is what I would call overly media trained.
Okay, some of it was factual. 4.3 speed, yeah, you're right. There's other quarterbacks that certainly can't do that.
Nope.
But I do believe after watching him and based on what I've seen and other quarterbacks that there are things that they can do that it doesn't look like he does as well or can do.
I would agree with that. I love him, appreciate him, what he did for Alabama. He seems like a great kid, but yeah, hearing him, some of his answers to things, it's like, come on, man. Like, give me a believable answer.
I know.
I mean, I just had to read it like 5 times before I even brought it up. Because
I saw you reacting over there. I was like, oh boy.
I was trying to understand. That's something I use as an advantage when I play the game of football.
It wasn't a good advantage.
What else are we talking about here?
I mean, how hard is it to say?
I hate to be Captain Obvious here, but I mean, like, we're here watching you participate in a National Football League pro day. We're not asking you if you can play horse.
Me on a pickleball court, totally different.
Just say, yeah, I bring something to the table with my speed and my athleticism that a lot of other guys don't. I understand that I have shortcomings in the passing game, particularly in the intermediate to short stuff, and that's what I want to show and prove that I can continue to develop those traits at the next level, and I'm excited and appreciate any team that wants to give me an opportunity.
A zebra.
There you go,
How about
Jalen.
this? A zebra can't be a dog, and a dog can't be a zebra, but I can be a zebra and a dog.
That could be a zog.
A zog.
Yeah, so it's like a
Or a
Dalmatian, but lines instead of spots. God bless him.
Aaron Rodgers. Or
What if I told you could have both?
Apparently the Steelers are at least kicking the tires on both.
I'll make you a deal on both of them. You got to buy them today. Wow. Oh. Evans. That was good. Thank you for that, Pat.
No, thank Jalen Milroe.
Thank you, Jalen.
Thank you for being able to decipher that for us, Pat.
And it truly is. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
We'll do some Pat Ponders. We'll take your calls and your texts as well. 205-834-9450 on the courtesy GMC text line.
132, it's three-man front here on this Wednesday. UAB in action tonight, taking on St. Joe's up in Philly. You can hear the game on Jocks 2 100.5. Pat Smith's going to be a part of the call. Plenty to cover there in the Green and Gold Report, my friend. Lots of information.
Yes, it's a very big weekend in UAB sports. So tune in tonight at halftime for the award-winning Green and Gold Report.
And all of your scoreboard updates you'll be giving.
Oh, listen, there are times during these broadcasts when I really don't have a lot to work with. I'm talking about scoreboards.
Yes.
Like I'm pulling out all sorts of stuff. But tonight, plenty of NIT action to talk about. We've got the first four going on. We got plenty.
It will be the final game for somebody.
Yes. This will be, DC will be not like telling me, hey, take as long as you want. This will be like, hey,
Smith, throw it back.
Yes, let's go. I got stuff to talk about.
We're ready for play.
Yes, let's go. We're not delaying the tip any longer. Shut up. Let's go. I don't want to get that text from DC.
He texted me earlier. I think he's in a good mood.
He probably played golf.
He probably did.
Yep. I think that's what he was the most excited about being in Dallas over the extended period of the weekend. Playing a lot of golf.
Yeah, he got a few courses out there.
Yeah, a few to choose from.
Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Derek. He wants to chime in. Derek, welcome into three-man front. How are you?
Hey, happy MM, guys.
Happy MM.
March Madness one. Yeah, what a week. What a week. Regrettingly, I didn't see that Hail Mary live last night. I've seen it a few times since, this morning. And it just reminded me of Jane Daniels against the Bears. I mean, a full-length pass and just tipped up, and Merry Christmas found its way in someone's arms and, counted for the basket. But wasn't like Megatron went up and got it or anything like that. But very similar, in my opinion. I don't know if there was a St. Francis player over there mocking the crowd, if that had anything to do with it. But, kind of like on that play, if y'all recall that game.
With the Bears DB,
anyway, yeah. But anyway, it just kind of reminded me of that. Just tipped up and rolled off, fell in someone's hands, and made them pay. So,
is this first weekend of the tournament, Derek, for you? Because I know you're a huge basketball fan, college and pro. But is this
correct?
Is this top 3 weeks of your year?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, I think. Like, say if you had to take one slot this week, next week, or the final 4 week, I think I'd take next week, that Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, that's. I mean, I know it's impossible to pick, but I think that's what I would go with. Just like I'd rather watch AFC, NFC Championship Day than the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So, but yeah, absolutely, it's with issues going on in life, this definitely helps. Helps ease everything. So.
That's right. It can be a respite, right?
Yeah, probably so. Yes.
Well, Derek, whatever you got going on in your life, hopefully things are turning up. You can enjoy some basketball and put your worries away.
It's minor, guys. It's minor. Trust me. It's not anything. It's just, but, yes. But, y'all need to give y'all's Final Four selections before Thursday or before tomorrow, before it gets going.
Okay. We're going to put something out. Molly's going to have a graphic or something she's going to put out via social media, but I will give mine before the end of the show.
All right.
Hopefully everybody
Great show, guys. Always enjoy.
Derek, thank you. We appreciate the phone call. Is that okay with you guys? Or y'all? I've got 2 brackets.
Mine have been ready to go.
Have they?
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and give them out?
Sure. Yeah, my Final Four, I have Michigan State and Florida on one side of the bracket. I have Houston and Alabama on another side. And
it's a shocker.
A shocker, I know.
Golly, where's the breaking news music?
And I have Florida winning the national championship over Alabama.
Yeah, Florida winning the national championship.
Shocker, I know. No one else is going to pick that. Very bold of me.
Will there be an asterisk by it?
TBD. We'll have to review the photographic evidence.
Molly, have you picked your Final Four?
No, not yet. I have started my bracket, but I haven't finished it yet.
All right. And then Pat, you're going to hold yours?
Yeah, I've got 2. Got in our pool, and I'm trying to decide which of the Final Fours I want to officially go with on the show, if that makes sense, because they're both different.
Yeah, I got it.
So
Go with the controversial.
If there's a consistent, is it Florida?
In the Final Four?
In your Final Four, yeah. Is it both brackets?
Or they
did you
totally
change it
different.
up?
Yeah.
One in Florida is not in.
See, and that's the mistake I've made in past years. That one team that you feel so confident about.
If Florida loses in the Sweet 16, we're all.
And then I'm copying and pasting, and that team ends up stinking it up a lot like a Virginia team that lost to Maryland, Baltimore County. That was not a great year for my bracket.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's what I'm vacillating on right now because in one, I've got Florida in the Final Four. The other one, I do not.
Yeah, I've got Florida. I've got Florida and Duke. I've also got Auburn in one of my Final Fours. I almost don't want to go chalk, and I want to take one of those, maybe a 3 or a 4 seed. I just don't feel as strong about.
Well, that's where I had to go back and tinker a little bit because I, at one point, or I guess when I first went through it, my Elite Eight was all 1 and 2 seeds. And the odds of that happening are just so slim. You know, you got to go and spice it up somewhere. And that's where I had Arizona knocking off Duke a little earlier on and try to mix some things up here and there. It's tough.
When we come back on Three Man Front, we will have a special edition of Pat Ponders coming up next, brought to you by Courtesy GMC.
I know.
We're getting close to closing time here on Three Man Front. We'll take you up to the Paul Feinbaum Show at the top of the hour. Let's do some Pat Ponders. It's brought to you each and every day, the 5 questions by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Don't drive anywhere else. You need to drive to Trustful. Got the best deals on any GMC or pre-owned vehicle right there, right off of I-459 exit 32. Visit their inventory on courtesybirmingham.com. Question number 1. It's being reported that EA Sports will increase its player payment for the next version of their college football video game to $1,500. Last year, it was $600. Do you believe that's a fair increase considering last year's game was the biggest selling video game in history?
I would say so.
I would have to have the number of players that you're going to have to dole out this money, but that's a pretty good increase. It's more than double. The only thing that I hate about it from the student athlete perspective is having to claim it. That over $600 threshold.
Yeah, that was nice the way that they did that.
Let's do $600 in a check and $900 under the table.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See, well, and here's my thing too, is this is really nice for this year because, like you said, it was the best-selling college football game of all time. It was one of the best-selling games last year in general. But was that more of a, this has been gone for so long that now everyone's going to run out and buy it? Because, I mean, I don't know. Granted, I was growing up, so I didn't have expendable money, but like I didn't buy Madden every year when I was growing up. You got it every 2 or 3 years when it was refreshed with a lot of new players. And so, you know, my question will just be if the sales are significantly lower this year, then what do you do if you're EA Sports in the future? You already raised the value, and now are you going to dial that back if the game doesn't bring in as much revenue? So I think it's fair, but I think maybe that's why the number isn't even higher because they're aware that it's probably not going to sell as well this year.
See, that was my initial thought too. Like, what will you do from like next year, the year after? But kind of like what Conrad said, for it being the first year, I mean, I think it's fine.
And on top of that, they get their wonderful deluxe edition of the game.
That's right.
That I'm sure none of them would have been able to afford with their NIL anyway.
Absolutely not.
All right, question number 2. Yesterday, President Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin had a phone conversation about a possible ceasefire in Ukraine. Now, the Kremlin has told the media around the world that not only did they talk about Ukraine, but Trump and Putin also discussed a hockey game featuring NHL stars versus Russia's professional league stars. The White House declined comment. So my question is, which would you rather see on a hockey rink? Russia versus USA or Canada versus USA?
Thought the question was going to be, would you rather see the hockey game or the ceasefire? I thought that was going to be the question.
Gosh.
I was like, good Lord, Pat.
Now, I'm not that
Not
bad.
even Pat.
I was like, oh, man.
I want a rematch for the Canadians.
So Canadians are now what, when you and I were growing up, it was always us against the Russians.
Yeah.
Cold War. Now the Cold War is us against Canada.
Yeah, save a few of them. Ryan Reynolds, Celine.
See, I'm going to say Canada too, just because I want a 4 nations rematch for us to get revenge. And plus, most of the players in the NHL are either, you know, American or Canadian. So give me Canada.
Mix it up. This is global. We're moving past hockey rivalries here, right? And I understand the tariffs and stuff with Canada. No, this is the enemy we're going after, and we're going to start on the hockey rink. So yeah, give me
Russia?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
They don't want any of this.
I don't know. How much does doping help you in hockey?
Here's my thing. So they're having this conversation for an hour. Like what led into the conversation about playing a hockey, like friendly?
And next on the agenda, we have
still very cold here in Russia. Whatever you want to do. There's a frozen pond just outside of my office. Whatever you should. And then Trump chimes in. He's like, you know, That was not Trump.
I was like,
Trump.
that wasn't Donald
No.
Trump, but I like that you gave us the impression of Putin and his interpreter.
Yes.
Yeah, you got the little earpiece in.
I almost called him an
What do you call
interrogator.
it?
Probably the same.
I was about to say.
No, but I
Probably
think
similar.
He was probably talking about the weather, and then Trump was probably like, "Oh, we have the big basketball tournament going on," and Putin was like, "Yeah, that does not interest me, but we still play the hockey."
I saw where Canada whipped your booty.
Yes. Oh, yes. Is that what? Yeah. No, it's still got to be Canada.
Yeah,
That was
give me
really
Canada.
entertaining. I told you that was the first start to finish. Man, I've come a long way in this past. It just dawned on me. WNBA, watched one of those games,
Mm-hmm.
and then I watched Canada versus. It was good.
Fever season starts soon, doesn't it?
Catch it.
It should be their new slogan.
Catch it. Wasn't that Major League Baseball's?
It was.
Catch the fever. Catch it.
One fever you won't mind catching.
That's right.
Could do a lot of things with that.
Question number 3. The Miami Marlins recently got caught trying to circumvent the minor league system. Their single A affiliate had posted an ad asking former collegiate and professional players to join us on a practice squad. This would be an opportunity to compete against the team's low A affiliate in Florida. The ad pitched a job, the possibility of a pathway to get to the pros. Now, this was deemed as a violation by the Major League Baseball Players Union contract, and the team then was forced to pull the ad. The Marlins were going to pay the practice players daily. That's right. You walk off the field, they give you money. You move along.
Under the table?
So how much do you
How awesome
believe,
would
I
that
have
be?
the number, but how much do you believe that the Marlins were willing to pay for one day to be on the practice squad? How much do you think they were willing to pay?
I'll go with an even number, $500 a day.
Okay.
Oh, I was going like $25 a day. Because you get to go and play. You get to go and play baseball.
Yeah, but I would think to help the team, you probably need to have some
skill.
level of skill.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, maybe like $100 a day is more
I'm gonna
realistic.
go
then.
250.
All right. So you said 100,
Yeah.
250,
Mhm.
500. The Marlins were willing to pay a player every single day $150.
That's good.
Okay.
That's solid.
Yeah.
That is solid. And so was that throughout the entire season?
That was as long as they need you on the practice squad,
That's not bad.
$150 a day. But that was a violation of the MLB Players Union contract. Because think about it, what they could do, because
Yeah.
if you play it out, because now there's minimal standards that you have to, I think that level of baseball, I think the minimum is $26,000 a year.
Yeah.
So if you're paid somebody like $150, like you're going to be,
Yeah, below.
yeah, well below that. So, but hey, how about the Marlins?
Good for the Marlins.
I
Trying to
like
shake
those
things up a
deeper
little bit.
blue spring training jerseys they're wearing. Told you that the other day. That's,
You like that?
yeah.
All right, coach, I'm here. What position you want me at? Buddy, actually today we've got you throwing BP. I did that yesterday, coach. Yep, 8 more hours of BP for you today.
Yep,
I don't know what
$150.
I don't know what their scouting system's like, but what if you had a case like a guy like Willie Mays Hayes? And he shows up and then all of a sudden he's turning heads.
Yeah.
He's like Jalen Milroe at Pro Day.
Yeah, running a 4.37. Question number 4. What percentage of people who fill out brackets do you believe can name 3 college basketball players, not including those from their favorite team?
Oh, over 50%.
Can name at least 3 players from another team, not your own?
Yeah, I'm going to go with over 50% of people could not do that.
Oh, could not. Okay.
Could not.
Could not.
I'm with Conrad.
Yeah,
It's got to be
could not.
over 50%.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because I'm just thinking about my friends that I've had in the past that have filled out brackets just to kind of feel part of something, but might not watch basketball. Yeah.
Well, and let's be honest, this year, and this is no shot about anybody in the SEC, I would argue there's one player in college basketball this year that is a household name or close to that, and it's Cooper Flagg, right? There's people that are going to have heard of him because of how big of a recruit he was and playing for Duke. I don't think there's a lot of people that outside of the southeastern part of the country are probably just consider Janai Broom or Mark Sears a household name.
Where do you think the discrepancy would be between Cooper Flagg, just a general basketball fan, and Janai Broome? Like, what would be the difference there?
Like in terms of why someone would know who
No,
Cooper Flagg is?
not why, but I'm talking about a percentage wise. Like if you were just to do a poll of
I got you.
of 1,000 college basketball fans across the country,
How many would know who Cooper Flagg was versus Janai Broome?
You could name them.
I would say 90% would know who Cooper Flagg is, and maybe like 70 would know who Janai Broome is.
Okay.
Yep. And they call him Johnny.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Or they just know Broome. They go, oh, the Broome guy for Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Fifth final question of the day. On this National Poultry Day.
What?
That's right. Yesterday was Sloppy Joe Day. Today's National Poultry Day.
Yeah, I realized when I went in my pantry at home, one of those free items of the week at my local Piggly Wiggly.
Sloppy Joe?
Yep. If you guys want it. And I got a can of the Starkist that I've just been sitting in. I'm not going to use it.
I think we should make Landrum eat
The Sloppy Joe with
the Sloppy Joe.
the tuna.
No, we don't have to do the tuna. Just eat the Sloppy Joe. That's your challenge.
Those days are over.
You have as much time as you want.
He's retired.
I'm retired.
He's handled the mantle off to you.
Mm-hmm. And you have dropped the baton, my friend.
Where'd you file that paperwork? I'd be interested in.
The retirement paperwork?
And also, yes.
Yeah.
I would be interested in that.
All right. So what is your favorite way to eat chicken?
Fried.
Yeah.
With my fingers.
Fried chicken.
I like fried chicken too.
I love fried chicken.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Not good for you, but
I try not to
But
do
it's
it too
good.
much, but fried chicken, golly, it's just some good old,
Mm-hmm.
like grandmother would put it in that cast iron skillet.
Mm-hmm.
It was given to her by her mother and then her mother's mother. And it's got all that flavor in it.
I was about to say a big old plate of fried chicken and
Oh, man.
some mac and cheese and some green beans or something. Like you,
Oh yeah.
you can't really beat that.
Mm.
What about you, Pat?
It's grilled.
You like grilled chicken
Absolutely.
over fried.
Yes. Absolutely.
So
That's not a health
be-
thing. That's just a preference
I had a bad experience
Oh.
with fried chicken.
with fried chicken.
Really?
makes me
you get food
sad.
poisoning?
I did.
That's how
Aw.
Paige is with shrimp. She can't eat shrimp
No,
anymore.
I will not eat fried chicken
Oh.
anymore.
Interesting because you would think because that would be the safest way to eat any questionable chicken would be deep fried
Correct.
and killing all of those harmful things, but apparently not with you.
Nah, not that time. No.
So you
Was
get,
it North and South Pole? Kind of sick.
Oh yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah.
So when you go to get the Lord's chicken, you get the grilled.
No, that's different.
That's different.
No,
okay.
it's different. I'm talking about a good old bucket of fried
Okay.
chicken.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't a bucket. Just no. Move on.
So I've detailed on this show. I used to love me some Lee's fried chicken back in college.
Oh, you're safe there.
But yeah, but it was not Lee's, by the way.
The way that you put it. All right. Does this particular franchise have an arena named for them?
That particular franchise was originated from a Southeastern Conference state.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're kind of rolling the dice.
Well, but that can mean a lot of different franchises
I'll
now.
say, yeah.
You got Raising Cane.
Oh, it wouldn't be them. They
By the
wouldn't
way,
do
for
that to
Derek,
Pat.
as promised, one of my Final Fours, I have got all chalk. Top seeds.
All 4 seeds.
Auburn, Duke, Florida, and Houston. My other one, all 2s. Michigan State, Tennessee, Alabama, St. John's.
Bold.
Going out on
Very
a limb
bold.
there, champ.
This, you know what? This is the year you don't go out on limbs. Stay close to the tree. Or the trunk. Paul Feinbaum, he's next.